Oh, nope. Bio's like, nah, just kidding. I don't want to be mayor, actually. To make it even
Yeah,
funnier.
absolutely I do.
Go, my noble steed!
The ship doesn't swerve when it sees how big the iceberg is.
I like big plants, I cannot lie. And I think I need to go back to... Wait! Wait, what? Are you ready for some top secret horse-based intel? There's a food that horses just love. It's... carrots. I think you were supposed to do that! Oh, what? Sir? Delicious. Giva, what are you doing? Alright, I think you're being taken off of chicken feeding duty, darling. Spring, if... Oh, goodbye. Goodbye! I have to go, my people need me. Welcome in, everybody, and thank you, Nat, for the raid. About to head off to pole class. Thank you so much for lurking, Fiona. I appreciate you. I hope you're doing well, Fiona. And congratulations on first, by the way. Alright, let's get this started. I'm gonna hop over to the Discord and undeafen there. Say hi to Twitch, everybody.
Hello, Twitch.
Hi, Twitch, everybody.
Thank you, Nat.
Hey, everybody, Twitch. I mean, don't do
Wait,
that.
no. Well, I do wish that I could get my camera to share between OBS and Discord, but alas, it does not want to. So we will make this work. Thank you for raiding in, Nat. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
I don't usually get to actually
very
vocalize a thank you.
that's true.
I feel very special that my camera is.
Well, I didn't
You're
know
on
who was talking first after I had to deafen, so I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
one of us is gonna be big when we're talking, and I forget how to do the not big.
It's like in the top right, like
There it
the
is.
focus. Yeah.
Yeah, gallery.
So, this is our first ever episode, for lack of better word, of the panel Composed. A panel that we are going to use to talk about different mental health topics. And something that kind of grabbed me, that got me thinking and got me actually wanting to do this in the first place, was thinking about hobbies and thinking about side hustles and how much overlap there is between them, and how sometimes you can be trying to like sit down and relax for the evening to work on some hobby stuff, but as soon as your brain says I have to do XYZ, oh, it's a chore, and then it's not fun anymore. So that's kind of what spurred this on. Really what drove this was the fact that I bought Skyward Sword like 6 months ago, and I think it's still in the plastic wrap. Because I said, no, I wanted to stream that game. I can't play it for fun. What are you talking about?
Oh.
And yeah, that got me, it brought up some feelings. And then I figured...
You know why I haven't finished Skyward Sword?
Why haven't you finished Skyward Sword?
Oh, because I want to stream it.
Exactly. And, I mean, to me, it's a game that I was gifted by Fudge. I'm gonna age myself. I want to say I was, like, 18 when I got it. And he got me the special gold Joy-Cons, or the gold Wiimote, because I still have it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was very bad at playing the game. I was so bad at the motion controls that I put it down, and I think he beat it, and I got to watch him play it. But I never played past, like, the intro dungeon, because I couldn't do it.
Rough.
I couldn't kill the spiders!
Even on Switch, it's rough. I played like
I think it's worse on
I think-
Switch, arguably.
yeah, I think it's
Oh, no.
worse on Switch. I think I played maybe 20 minutes. I might have gotten through 20 minutes, and then I just gave it to a family member. I was like, "You can have it." Like
Yeah,
I
no.
have played and beaten it on Wii, which motion controls for that were rough too, especially the last battle. But like, I've played and beaten it. I thought it would be cool to have for Switch, but they didn't really nail it with the motion controls.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Yeah, that copy's going to someone else."
Yeah, that does make sense. So, the way we're gonna structure today's episode and possibly future episodes is we have 4 panelists. Each panelist is going to talk about the topic at hand for maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I'm gonna set a timer for 20 minutes, and if you get to 18 minutes, I am going to unmute my microphone and play a little 4-note thing on the kalimba to let you know you're running close to the end of your time without interrupting you. And after each panelist is done talking, is when we're gonna open things up to a little bit of like banter and discussion between panelists about specific things that were said, and also open things up to chat with a little question and answer. I posted a message in chat, but I've turned off most of my disruptive channel point redeems for today because I am not doing 3-word challenge when we are trying to talk about very serious mental health topics. Can you imagine me making all of the other panelists talk in 3 words? Because no.
Very disruptive, but funny.
Yes.
A funny thought.
A very funny thought. So that let it just be a funny thought.
Wait, also, before we start, there's a setting in the top right that says show non-video participants, and you can turn it off so that it's just our 3 cameras.
Oh, okay.
If you want.
Is that focus or is that under more? There it is.
It's under more.
That works. because I am gonna be I'll be clicking on each person, like when it's their turn to present I can blow somebody up, and then when it's not their turn to present, or if we're like doing the open discussion, I will turn it back to this. I really wish OBS would share my mic or share my camera. I don't know why it won't, and I don't know whether me turning it off makes more sense or not. I really don't know. Let me try it first. Because, I mean, if I try it and it's still just like, nope, I can't see you. I can't see this camera. And it doesn't feel worth it. Why can I never find my webcam? My sources are a mess.
I'm just gonna have glare. I don't get a choice.
You know, it's understandable.
Hey, you got the island sun.
It's
I do.
beautiful. But welcome in, chat. It's really great to have you here, especially because this is our first ever panel that we're doing. Okay, can I? Yeah, now it works. Okay. So it just did not like sharing my camera. But we'll do it like this because, I mean, if I'm going to be speaking, I'm bigger here than I was in that tiny little corner box anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That's my main complaint about my new overlay setup, is that my camera's tiny.
Yeah, it's a little small.
But, like, I'm torn between, like, do you sacrifice camera size or do you sacrifice the game display?
I'd rather sacrifice camera size than game size.
Right,
Yeah,
and
comes down to it.
Since I'm playing games through OBS on my Switch, the more stuff I do to cover the game, the worse I am at playing.
Yeah.
So that's always a thing. All right. So, did Catrium versus Island Grandpa, did either of you have a preference as to who starts? Rock, paper, scissors?
Sure, let's rock, paper, scissors it. Ready?
Right.
Rock, paper, scissors. We both did the same thing, and there's too much of a delay for this to work.
That's really funny.
Here. You know what? I've got a D20 on me.
Okay.
Choose odds or evens.
Even.
Siri, shut up. You choose even? Okay, so if it's even, you don't have to go.
Oh. Okay.
Or do you? Or if it rolls even, you go. I don't know.
If it rolls even, I'll go.
Okay.
I like that.
17. It looks like it's me.
So if that's the case, we're gonna go alphabetical order based on username. So we will do Island Grandpa, Catrium, Nat, and then myself to wrap things up. I will get a timer going for.
Can you remind me the prompt?
Hobbies and side hustles.
Just side hustles and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm gonna set it for 18 minutes.
Okay.
And then again, if you hit the 18-minute mark, I'll play the little kalimba to let you know that your time is nearly up. Other than that, I'm gonna be muted, but not deafened, so that everyone can hear you. And I'm gonna shut my mouth, which is really hard.
What to do, Buckaroo? Where's my camera? I'm looking at the wrong thing. Whatever. What to do, Buckaroos? I'm Island Grandpa, back from the quiet abyss. So I have a little bit of experience dealing with side hobbies. Wow, I'm already doing great.
Also, side hobbies. That's also
side hobbies. Side hobbies are a
hobbies?
thing.
You have
So
your side
hobbies, side hustles, and mental health. So I have ADHD. I also have other things like anxiety, PMDD, PTSD, blah 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 blah. So mental health is very prevalent in my life. I also have tried to monetize a hobby when I didn't necessarily want to. Over a decade ago, I used to do a daily webcomic. It was something for me to do for fun. I had moved from one side of the state to the other side of the state, didn't have really any friends local, didn't have much of a connection to do stuff, and I started doing a daily journal webcomic, and I really enjoyed it. Probably some unhealthy habits there because with webcomics, that's a whole other topic for how those go. There was a lot of normally your schedule was you were working on your webcomic to have it ready to post by midnight that night. Some people did it daily, 3 times a week, 1 day a week, whichever schedule. I think I tried to do 3 times a week. Don't remember because this has been so long ago. But I was relatively happy just doing it. It gave me something to do and I really enjoyed it. And then I kind of got pressured by other friends in the industry to monetize on it because you had other web comics where people were making money off of their web comics. Whether or not they were making enough for a career, I don't know. Uh, I certainly that was never my goal to ever have it be a job. Um, but that's what it turned into. We talked about earlier. Redra mentioned that you have something, and once it turns into like a job, then you don't want to do it. In my situation, I actually got severe burnout. Um, I was pressured to make a mini comic, so like a pamphlet kind of thing. Well, more than that, with several pages. And there's so many things you have to do that for publishing. If you've anyone's ever dealt with publishing, like you have to fit things with certain lines, you have to have bleed edges. It's graphic design and all sorts of stuff. Um, and you have to have that ready, do preview prints, get it printed and ready for there was a convention that I was going to be tabling at. I worked nonstop, late nights, not sleeping enough to get this little comic done. And I ended up getting really sick, to the point that I ended up having to have surgery afterwards. Um, Probably not quite related, but there's a correlation of not great health to the point where I just got so burned out to the point that even now, a decade later, I struggle with doing art. Art used to be something that brought me a lot of joy, but there was so much energy put into like I have to do this thing, it has to be perfect, it has to be this way, and I have to make money off of it to then like now I feel weird about making art like can I make art for myself or can I just do I have to show it to people? Like there's just still this weird complex and like the answers are no, you can make art. You don't have to show it to people. You can make art for yourself. You can just make whatever. It doesn't even have to be perfect. Like you can do a little sketch, it's fine. But I still struggle with those mental blocks. Um, which then leads me to I think it's really common, especially for us millennials, that a lot of us were raised like do what you want to do for your job. Like do something you enjoy doing, do something you love, and for some people that works out really really well. You can do be an artist, uh a photographer, or if you love engineering or something like that. Like there are things that yeah you can definitely do, but there are some things that maybe you enjoy as a hobby that you shouldn't try to make your job because it's something that brings you a reprieve. So like I do music, I love doing music. I would not want to be a musician professionally because it's something that I take to break up my day to give me a little peace. And when you turn it into a job, uh, then uh, there's all sorts of things with that. And again, like my experience is going to be different from other people's experience. Some people can take something that they absolutely love, that is a big hobby, and make it their job and make it work for them. And I know we have people in this group that have that experience, and that's wonderful. But you have to look at like what you have to balance like am I doing this for enjoyment and would I rather have it just be for enjoyment, or is this something that I can also still get enjoyment from and do it all the time? And it's something like I analyze with anything where even if there's the potential to monetize. So like streaming, if anyone's been around here who knows me, I haven't streamed in 6 months or so, maybe longer. And like I'm affiliate or whatever, so technically I make money off of ads. Um, but my big thing for streaming was I wanted to give myself time to play a video game. And I just wanted to share that time of I just wanted to have a cool, chill environment where people could just hang out, vibe. I try to pick games with good music, so if someone just wants to like sit and work and do something else and just listen to the video game music, that's fine. But I don't want it to be my career. Um and like making money from it is nice, but like I didn't want that to be my focus. So I have put boundaries around for myself to make sure that I don't overstep those boundaries and burn myself out. And for example, my schedule got really, really busy, and there was that, oh, I've got to stream or whatever. And it's like, no, it's okay to take a break um from things. And I know I'm rambling all over the place. Yay, ADHD. Um, but it's really knowing your boundaries or even learning to set boundaries for yourself. Especially if you're doing stuff that's not healthy. Like we've talked about it in our Discord server at the Cool Gamer Retirement Home, that some days we're just not having great days, we're not feeling it, and we're going to take a mental health day. And that's completely valid. Um you've got to take care of yourself. Uh like first and foremost, take care of yourself. So like when I burnt myself out trying to make that little mini comic for a convention, uh like the end product, like it felt great getting that all out, but I had no sleep. I ended up not even being able to enjoy the convention. I left early the second day because I was so sick and just so burnt out. Um and what happened is I should have listened to my body. I should have listened and realized when people around me are like, "Oh, maybe you should take it like a little easy." And obviously like there's a difficulty when there's a deadline involved and stuff. But it was obvious that it wasn't fun for me anymore. And I think that's another big thing to look at when it comes to if you are going to monetize on a hobby or turn it into a side hustle. You got to make sure you're still having fun. If you're not having fun, then like what's the point? I guess for me, I mean, if it's your main form of income, I realize like not all of us get to have jobs that fulfill our lives. Like I don't get my fulfillment from my day job. My fulfillment comes from these additional activities that I get to do, which is why I think it's you have to be careful if you do want to turn it into a side hustle. Because hobbies are important. Even if you don't have many, or even if you think you don't have one, I'm sure there's something you do additional that is probably a hobby. Um, I feel like there's something else. I don't even know where I'm at on time. How am I doing on time?
You have like 8 minutes left before I
Oh,
was going
okay.
to give the ring, so feel free to keep going.
I didn't know if anyone had anything they wanted to like I'm open for open, like I know we're going to have a point where we all talk too, but I don't know if someone had anything they wanted to like add or ask or something.
But we can
Um
we can move into the forum part between the four of us if you're ready for that. I've been taking notes and trying to.
yeah, I feel good, like and if I think of something else I want to hit on, that's fine. Like I've even like, and I think again, there's such a mentality that like if you like doing something, you should try to monetize it. At least like I felt like there's been a cultural aspect of that. So like even something else I started doing recently is I now run games at a local board game cafe, like D&D games or other TTRPGs. And I do get paid for that. But I have to make sure like I'm not doing it because I want to get paid. I'm doing it because I would enjoy it. Like I would do it regardless for free. But
Don't let them hear
still
you
pay.
say that.
Yeah, I know. Still pay me. No. But like I've had to focus to make sure that I'm not diving into that whole let's make this now a new side hustle, because it's like no, like I don't get paid very much, but it's enough to like cover a nice dinner for eating there. And then if I wanted to, I can cover getting some like minis or something for the game. Um, but I'm making sure that like I'm not scheduling a bunch of these events. I just do it when I feel like it and when I want to do it because it's fun for me. Um, but I can feel that pull every once in a while. And like same thing even with streaming of like, oh, I'm streaming. Oh, I made affiliate. Oh, I should like do this, and this. And it's like that doesn't work for me. Like for me, for streaming and what I will be like, I've tried doing a schedule, and I found like going forward now, I'm just not gonna have a schedule. I'm just gonna stream when I want to stream because that was the whole point of me starting to stream, was to have a moment to have enjoyment for myself and just to share a chill environment with people. So anyway, I think that's all I've got.
All right, so
So I'm
then
prefer forum.
we can move into open forum stuff.
I want to say, first of all, yes to all of that. I think we can all relate, honestly. Especially, I think I especially relate to the parts where you're saying, it's where the streaming has gotten a little, it kind of falls by the wayside, but that's okay because you have set those boundaries.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a huge part of that too is that we have built a community here in the retirement home that doesn't feel stressful when I have to be like, okay, can't stream for like the next 2
Mhm.
months.
Thank
And
you to
'cause
our
it's-
followers for being cool too.
yes, yes.
Like I've
So
never
much.
had anyone give me crap about the fact like I haven't streamed in like, 6 months, or, if anyone needs to take a day off. Even if it's last minute, we've had some last minute cancellations. Everyone's been very supportive, and I think that's also really important, is cultivating that environment. Also, like among like your supporters, like just like your social network and your like your friends and family. You want to make sure that you have that kind of support of like boundaries of like, I need a mental health day. I can't do this right now. And
Right.
that's fine.
I think it's important to like there's a lot of shame that comes with admitting needing a mental health day or feeling like I obligated myself to do XYZ and I can't
Yep.
do that right now. And I think
Yep.
it's something that's important to unpack, but even more important to me is to internalize it. You were saying something earlier about your webcomic, where you know that you can make art just for you. You know
Yep.
that, but it still doesn't feel true. And to me, that's like where you have to take those words that are coming out of your mouth and like really pull them in. And I need to
Yep.
do this too in a lot of places
Mhm.
where I can tell
Yep.
myself, like, oh yeah, like if you get down about view count, like I sometimes do, you can tell yourself,
Yep.
like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Yep.
Like, people are here, people are watching you. Why should it matter if like it's lower, higher, whatever? But really what it comes down to is taking that and bringing it inside, so that I think it's saying it until it comes from you that is important.
And something else, like, I don't know about the rest of you, but like for me, obligation is like such a hard thing. Like I always feel obligated to do things.
Mhm.
And like one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my adult life is that you can say no. Um, but when I get good at something or I want to do something, I then want to share it, like, and do
Yeah.
stuff for people. So like, for a while when I still spin yarn, but like I was making those gloves that everyone liked, and then I was like, oh, I want to make gloves for everyone who's interested in stuff. And then I realized by like fifth, sixth pair or whatever, I'm like, I'm starting not to enjoy this. This is not getting fun for me. This needs to be my last one that I do for some time. And so it's again recognizing where you're at of like, am I enjoying this? Am I having fun? And if your answer is no, and like that doesn't mean like every day is going to be great and you're going to have an amazing time, but like if it's a continual thing, I think that's a point where you need to reflect like on your situation and for yourself of like, is this what I want to be doing with my time right now?
Mm-hmm.
Also, on the topic of view count, I've heard somebody say before, like some post or something, that it's like, even if you're like, wow, there's only, 4 people watching me instead of like 10 or 12 or whatever, it's like, okay, but if 4 people were in your room watching you do that thing, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, in
Right.
Yep.
like, just more than me and someone else being here, like, the fact that there's like 4 or 6 people watching me at all, ever, like, they could have been doing anything, right? But like, they're there watching you.
Right? Like
Yeah, it's like a big sleepover.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just
yeah.
invited 4 of your closest friends over.
And it's like, I can hear that, but sometimes, like you're saying, like, it's something that you have to internalize and be like, okay,
Yep.
it doesn't matter. Like, that, having those
Mhm.
couple of people is so much more than anything that I could ever ask for.
Shout out to those people.
Right.
Like, seriously, like, I always feel bad if I even mention view count because I'm not trying to, like, ignore the people who are here, because that's what's most important. It's just that sometimes that part in the back of your head that's like, oh, you could be doing better than that, like, starts talking. And that's when you have to really, like, take that in as a shield to be like, no, you know what? It's okay. And kind of block that out. Was I gonna Go ahead.
It's a process of learning how to be nice to yourself.
It really is.
Something else, and this might be a little controversial, but I noticed this with streaming, and it's similar to when I did webcomics, is that obviously you want to network and you want to share people's stuff. But I also feel like there's like, you have to connect with everyone, you have to share everyone's stuff, you have to show up to everyone's stream, and that's unhealthy and unrealistic. I noticed the same thing happened in webcomics. Like I don't, my old Twitter account, like, I don't know most of the people that I'm connected with on there, because it was at that point in the wild west of webcomic. I say the wild west like I was there early. I was in the late era of webcomics. Not that webcomics are dead. Webcomics are still great and amazing. But like, it was very much like, well, that person followed me, so I have to follow them back, and that person followed me, I have to follow them back. Oh, they tweeted about their thing, I should retweet about, like, boundaries. Again, probably my number one word for this. It's okay not to follow everyone. It's okay not to share everything. And if that's what you want to do, that's completely fine and valid. But it is also completely valid to not want to do that.
It really
Does that affect
is.
with networking sometimes? And will people maybe think a different way? Sure. But I'd rather have those boundaries for myself and not feel burnt out that I have to sit on Twitter all day or insert social media or whatever and go to all this. And this is also controversial as someone who streams video games. I don't particularly like watching people play video games. And that's like being growing up female in the 90s and being stuck watching the boys play video games and be told, oh, you're too girly to play, which is BS.
We
But
could do a whole nother panel about that.
yeah,
Oh,
literally, that's a
good.
whole nother problem.
That's a whole other thing.
Tune in next month.
Yeah.
Another
But
bag of
again,
worms.
that's also valid if you don't want it. Like, all of us are friends here. I don't necessarily make it to like everyone's stream, and that doesn't like affect our relationship of stuff. Like, I still support everyone. I share when I can, but I have my boundaries that I'm not going to be on Twitter all the time. I'm not going to be doing all this stuff, and that's completely valid and okay. I think that's also important just with streaming side hobbies and side hustles and stuff like that. Like, know your own limits for how you want to do networking and stuff too,
And supporting others and all that.
and supporting others.
Yeah.
When
Like, I'm more of a verbal supporter of like, I'll be on Discord or whatever and I'll do everything I can to support, and that's just, I've found like that's what works best for me. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. When I started streaming, I want to say that I must have been using a hashtag or something that was like new streamer or small streamer or like push to affiliate or whatever. But I kept getting a lot of DMs from people who were trying to basically make a big old follow for follow farm on Discord.
Yep.
And so I did get pulled into one of them because I was kind of new and awkward, and I was like, well, this guy's got 1,000 followers, so who knows? But as soon as I got in there and looked through like the rules, like, you were supposed to post in a channel that you supported 3 people a day and like how you supported them, whether it was like, oh, I was in this person's stream, oh, I cheered bits, and I was like, I'm out. I left the Discord immediately. I was like, no, that's a no from me, dog.
Yep.
And like, I feel like to a certain point, networking's important, and it's hard to kind of like separate out networking, parasocial relationships, and all of that from genuine support, because I feel like that's kind of what I want. I don't want to like have someone tabbed up because I feel obligated. It's like, well, they followed me and they were in my channel, so I will have them tabbed up because I have to. Because then like, that's so not genuine. Is disingenuous the word? I think it's the word. It's so fake that like that's not even a support type that they want, you know? Like, it does not serve them.
Like, I also felt that like when we started like auto hosting, like feeling like I had to have everyone on my host list, and I was like, okay, I have particular rules and about content and stuff that's on my channel. And I was like, no, I want to share the people I'm actually like, I would sit down and watch a stream if I want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the content I want. So, like, if I don't know you and I don't have, or I don't, whatever, like, I'm just not going to do the auto host. Like, and that's okay.
Right. That was one of the kind of like founding things when we formed the Cool Gamer Retirement Home. One
Yeah.
was that this is chill. It's
Yep.
cool. We're gonna do things at our own pace.
Be cool.
And like, I'm usually the very proactive one to be nudging everyone in the Discord, but I'm tempering myself. Like, I'm not gonna hound people and be like, well, you didn't answer my message from an hour ago, so I'm adding you again. Like, no. It's cool. And then on top of that, it was like, we genuinely like and support each other, but there are no rules saying, oh, well, you have to be following everyone in the Cool Gamer Retirement Home before you can join, and oh, you have to make it to like XYZ streams, and you have to have everyone on your host list. No. We're cool. It's the first letter in the acronym.
Do what you can, do what you want. Yeah, be cool.
I think we are probably, if anyone else has anything to say in closing remarks, we can, closing remarks for chapter 1.
Chapter 1 is take care of yourself. Can you turn a hobby into a side hustle? Absolutely. But you have to watch for things and you have to take care of yourself. And again, like I said, that's not saying that you can't have your profession or whatever be what your hobby was or anything like that. I'm just more the cautionary tale of I didn't even want to do the thing. I got pushed into it and had these expectations that were unrealistic and just didn't have the I don't want to say maturity per se, though probably maturity is part of it, but just not being able to have the tools to be able to recognize, oh, this is actually harming me. And like obviously now I kind of have a semi-permanent problem now with art, which I'm working through. It takes a while, but take care of yourself. Self-care is so important, and especially if you can have people who surround you um know to help you out with that is also important. So like my husband knows some of my like ADHD tendencies that can cause me some issues, and he looks out for those for me. So I have someone. So if you have like a friend or someone who can check in with you and stuff like that, that's great. But yeah, take care of yourself.
Here. We're gonna open things up to chat. I believe Agent Blaze, who's in the call with us, might have a question, and I gave him the okay to unmute and ask it here instead of typing it. But
Awesome.
Chat, you are also welcome at this stage to type any questions or comments that you might have about hobbies and side hustles, and chapter 1 being set boundaries and take care of yourself. Now is the time. I think he is muted. It's possible. Oh, there he is. So I can't hear you, Blaze.
I can't hear anything either.
His microphone sometimes acts up, if I remember right from some of our Minecraft calls.
You can always type it in Discord or in the chat too.
That's true.
If the mic isn't working. I've got Discord up. Or if there's no question, that's fine too.
Oh yeah. I had watched a panelist do something like this, and like I feel like most of the time she was spending like reading chat messages and responding to them like in as real time as possible, which is one way to do it, but with ADHD I like to try to narrow my focus.
Nope, I'm the same way. Yeah, it looks like maybe some mic and stuff issues, because I've seen him come on and off.
Still muted.
You can also just type
Yeah, you can type
or
it
comment
as well.
in the. We'll read it. Oh, hello?
My check.
Mic check.
My check.
I can hear you
now. So I don't know if this was brought up at all, but there was a lot. I do piano compositions, and I used to I would post them on Instagram. And when I first started, there was a period where I was kind of in the bind of looking for validation, where
Mhm.
I would like feel like I'd have to post this and it'd have to get like a certain number of likes or a certain number of comments in
Yep.
order for me to feel like, okay, this is I can keep doing this. And I eventually got out of that. And I continue to play. I play a lot on my own. But I
That's
was just
awesome.
curious. What are this is for anyone to answer. What is your method for getting yourself out of that sort of validation rut?
If I figure
If,
it
if
out, I'll let you know. um,
um,
go ahead,
go ahead.
Grandpa.
No, no. I thought someone else had something. Um, so it's really easy to say just don't care about it. Um, I think it's easier when it's something low stakes. So like streaming for me is more low stakes than it is like of anything else I do. Um, so like I personally have decided when it comes to my stream stuff, I just don't look at the numbers, or I do what I can not to look at stuff. Or in some cases that's been like, you know what, I'm not actually going to post on Twitter, or I'm not going to post on Instagram. Um just because like again it was just like, okay, before a stream I got to make sure I do this, and then it's like I'm already worn out before I'm even starting. Um but some of it, I keep saying this word, boundaries. Um, so like I know what for my brain, if I see a thing, then I'll fixate. So like I'll hop on Twitter, I'll do whatever I need to do, and then I just leave it. I don't open Twitter. I don't look at it again unless like I get a notification that someone interacted that I need to. It's not really like a solution per se saying like that's what fix things, but like that's what works for my brain is out of sight, out of mind. So if I'm not actively interacting with that, then that helped me not fixate on it.
For me, with streaming, I have view count turned off. I have follower count turned off because, like, I
Oh,
have
you can
had
turn that off? I
streams.
need to look that up.
You just click on the number and it hides it.
Ah, nice.
So, if you are streaming, I'm gonna recommend turning them off because, like, and I recently was using one of those follower goal things, and I had it on my little quick bar. Except, even though I had follower count hidden, that would show your current number of followers. So I would be like streaming, and I'd be all excited because like someone rated, and I got like 3 new followers, and then I would look back like 10, 15 minutes later, and I'm like, I lost 2 followers, and I'm like, it's easy to say you did nothing wrong, but it's hard to not feel negatively about it because that's kind of the opposite side of things. Like, there's validation where you're posting things and you're trying to get like that positive interaction, likes, sales, retweets, whatever platform you are on. But then you either have less interaction than the previous time, or you feel like I'm regressing. So I will agree, out of sight, out of mind. But I genuinely don't know how to answer that because it varies so much based on where you are posting. Like,
Mhm.
I'll be honest with you guys. I made stickers recently. I did my first little batch of the spring beans stickers, and I was like, I'll
Very
be
cute.
chill. I'm gonna just make like 5 sets, and then one of them went to one of my mods because I owed them stickers. So I've got like 4 sets of the stickers, and it's been 1, maybe 2 weeks since I made them and like shared and posted the listing, and I'm still looking at the fact that like nobody's bought stickers. And again, this is, I'm not trying to guilt trip. They're
No,
like
no, 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 no.
$4.
It's
Everybody
completely
should go
valid.
buy stickers right now.
I guess who still has copies of that mini comic?
Yeah. I
Mhm.
also I made pins. I like went through a website to make acrylic pins, and I've sold 1, and it's like, I mean, that's fine because some of these things, like, is there a concern about the physical inventory? Maybe a little bit, but I can start adding pins and stickers as like giveaway prizes pretty easily.
Yeah.
But there's still that little hit to your ego of like, I made this thing and nobody's bought it yet. And like, it's really hard to kind of separate that out from self-worth. It's
Yep.
important, it's critical to separate it from self-worth, but it is still hard.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
just have like a pretty raucous anxiety disorder, and so like if one person watches my stream, I'm like, hell yeah. I think I have the opposite problem. Yeah, it's in all seriousness, it is definitely a difficult thing to think about and surmount, especially because as content creator, and I really, oh boy, I hate that word, but we are all, that's what we do, right? We are all
Yep.
content creators.
Yep.
And the content needs to be consumed by someone. But I think I try to look at it like, you know, we are bringing that content to at least a couple of people, and if at least a couple of people absorb and enjoy and interact with the content, God, I keep saying it.
The
Okay.
content.
You said it. You opened the word. You
PM.
opened the Pandora's box of words. I think. Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead. That's all I had to say. I think it just helps when there are at least a couple of like really active followers or people who are interacting with stuff. It
I think
helps with that feeling.
I think what also for me the shift is that I do this for me. And so if I'm happy with something, even though I posted it, like that, this is easier said than done. But as long as I'm happy with it, that should be enough.
Mm-hmm.
Again, way easier said than done when you are content creator, because then of course you get some fans and some people have expectations. But I think ultimately, more so, obviously, there's a difference if this is your profession versus a hobby. Hobby, I feel like your focus should be for you. So as long as you're happy with what you have, that should be good. But again, it's got to be where each individual person's different. So unfortunately, there's not going to be like one right answer to how do you not focus on likes and stuff like that. But
It's a good question, and
It
thank
really
you.
yeah,
is.
it's a very good question.
Nat, did you have anything to contribute? It's fine if you feel like it's been covered.
Mostly, I feel like I'm mostly disagreeing with everyone saying, but I will say earlier that you said about oh god, I already lost my train of thought. What were you saying earlier? I don't think I have anything because I lost my entire train of thought as soon as I opened my mouth.
If it comes back,
Yeah.
back, let us know.
Okay.
It's all good. Safe space for
Yeah.
thoughts going out to the void.
The
Absolutely.
void.
Pour
So,
one out.
If that did answer the chat questions, we can move on to our next panelist. But thank you, Blaze, very much for that question.
Yeah, thank you.
And of course,
Great
you're still
question.
welcome to hang out in the chat, and like if you've got more questions based on everyone else's like chapter of this panel, then we're happy to hear them. So,
Okay, cool.
Catrium, are you ready for your chapter?
I guess so.
I will start the timer for 18 minutes, and I will give you a little chime at 18 minutes. If you're done earlier, you can say, like, and now for the rest of the panel or something, and we'll come in.
For the rest of the story. Yeah, so I'm gonna touch on a little bit of what Island Grandpa was talking about also. I am internet grandma in the CGRH. I'm Catriam on Twitch. I also this is gonna be part of the story. I also write novels under the pen name LM Fern. And I am a podcaster. Okay, you see the theme here, right? I feel like sometimes
Tell me you have ADHD without saying you have ADHD.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Formal diagnosis. Sometimes I feel like I am the queen of side hustles, right? I have had people in the past tell me like, "Wow, you're doing a lot." Because to back up all the way all the way back. I knew I wanted to be a writer when I was 5 years old. And of course, when you're a writer at 5 years old, it means that you write little stories and your mom illustrates them for you, and then you show them to your preschool class, and everybody claps, and it's all very great, right? And but as I kind of grew up, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be a writer. I want to write. I want to write stories. I want to put books out there. And then as I got older, that became okay. I want to work in publishing. I want to be able to be the person putting the books out into the world, and also write my own books on the side. And maybe cool if I get like really famous, maybe I'll make millions of dollars off of writing books, and that'll be cool, and that'll be my job forever. And I think Island Grandpa talked a little bit about how it can be nice and fun and good if you are able to make your hobby your job. And I kind of straddle that line a little bit with the work that I do now. But I wanted it to be my job for a very long time. I went to school for creative writing twice. And that was gonna be the be all end all, right? But when you go to school for writing and you don't want to teach, you basically have only a couple of options. You move to New York City and you get a job at a big publishing company where they don't pay their interns, and it's kind of a shit show. There's a reason I'm self-publishing, but anyway, that's a different story. Or you do freelance writing, and you take every gig you can get, right? When you grow up in this and go to school for writing, and they basically it is if you don't take every gig that you can get, you will starve, right? And so I had 2, 3, 4 internships at a time in college. Like I was doing all I want to work in publishing. And as I got out of college and did the grad school thing, and then I got a job. And that job was content writer. I'm doing it, right? I'm writing. And this is a safe space, right? This is a safe space, and we like to talk about, we want to talk about salaries here because it's important to be transparent with the amount of money that we make in this capitalistic society. Okay, that can be a separate rant for a different panel. But I was making $30,000 a year in Chicago, Illinois. It was a great time. It was a really great time. But I was doing it, right? I was writing. That was what I wanted to do. But I got real burnt out. I got real burnt out. And so and I was still doing all of those side hustles, right? I was writing, I was freelancing, I was trying to have a blog. But it kind of got to this point where I got real burned out, and I couldn't really do that anymore. And that is kind of in transitioning into what I'm doing now, which is I do marketing for a university, for the IT department of a university. And I think that has kind of I've been able to as Island Grandpa was talking about, kind of straddle the line between hobby and job with the work that I do for my real life money now. And that I think has really helped as far as my mental health is concerned. Because I'm not using up all of my creative juices writing 4,000 words a day, 4,000 words about garbage a day, and then not having enough energy to come home and do my actual, like, what I actually want to do, my fiction, my short stories, my novels. So the whole, as you said, as millennials, we kind of have grown up and been told, do what you love for work. Well, that was all I wanted to do. I wanted to write and I wanted to read and I wanted to copy edit other people's writing. And when I got there, it was, a struggle, because it wasn't exactly what I had envisioned it being. It was kind of a slog, and also the content marketing industry is racket. But I'm trying to think. I think and the other thing I wanted to mention is, so I have my podcast, I have blog, I wrote a book, I do streaming every once in a while. It's things have been a little much of a struggle recently, just because of all of this stuff. I have had to take several steps back from some of these projects, just because it got to be a lot. And I picked up crochet during the quarantine parts of the pandemic, of course. And of course, as soon as I did that, everybody, oh, you could sell that. You could put that on Etsy. You could make those. And I thought, oh God, and I fell into that trap, very briefly. I thought, oh yeah, you know what? I could do that. And so now here, I'll show you. I have like little coasters just like chilling around my desk because I made like 50 of them thinking I was going to put them on. And now I just have coasters. And that could be a project for the future, but I think it's definitely been it's been a struggle reining in that part of me that's like, it's something I can do to make money. It's a gig, it's a job, it's a freelance, whatever. I should be doing it. I should be doing that, right? Like, because I'm no longer in a place financially where I need all the gigs. I have a full-time job, but it's still in here, right? And so I think in kind of working through all of that, and especially over the last several years, if Island Grandpa's chapter was about taking care of yourself and about boundaries, I think I want my chapter to be about finding community, because I think our group here especially has been instrumental in helping me really solidify what I want out of that gig mentality, right? And how I wrangle that, really. Because before, it's like I have to do everything. I have to have XYZ. But if you find a community and find people, surround yourself with people who don't it sounds weird to say don't expect things of you, but like who aren't going to be, putting that pressure on you, and who aren't going to be expecting like huge monumental things, right? They just are supportive of you for who you are and for what you are capable of doing, instead of the things that they think that you should be capable of doing. And the so the putting together the Cool Gamers Retirement Home and all of the people, including Nat, including Agent Blaze, who is in the chat. I think building that community has been one of the best things could have happened to me for the past several years. I was having a pretty rough go right before we all got together, and I think that having that community around has been instrumental in helping me focus not just on all of this other stuff that I'm doing, but helping me focus on myself and taking care of myself. And so I don't necessarily have any big takeaways or you know, whatever. But I do want to kind of stress that like even with all of this, I still have that mentality. I still struggle with it. I still, think like even somebody at work was saying like, hey, I know that you do freelance writing. Would you like to do this for this company that I have on the side? And of course I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, yeah, I'd love to do that. And of course, immediately afterwards, I think to myself, why? I should learn how to say no. So maybe you all can help me with that a little bit more, because I think I am better at doing it now. Now that we've all had the chance to kind of to surround each other with such support and things. So I am getting better at it. But those are my current struggles, I guess. I am petering out, I think.
That's fine. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe 18
I took
minutes is a
notes.
little long, so we can. You had 5
Well,
minutes left, so you did really, really good.
Yeah, I just it's I struggle with the mentality that I grew up with of like, if you're going to make it as a writer and a content creator, you need to be taking every gig, every post, everything that smells or looks like a job.
Yep.
You need to be doing it, right? So I do still struggle with that, but I think, as I said, I think it's been really helpful to have a group of people around me who don't really, who are more focused on how I am as a person and how I am doing mentally, physically, right? Like, we all care about each other. We all want each other to succeed, yes, but we also want each other to be okay. And I think that has been really, really the best part of all of it, right? So
I
yeah.
agree. And I think having that supportive community, especially like you and me, we don't stream that much.
Right.
We're the less active ones of this group on the call. But we've never been made to feel less than or bad because we're not
Right.
streaming.
Right.
And I think having that supportive community is really important, because if I had pushed myself to stream the last 6 months, I would have burnt out. And then I would have ruined another thing that I enjoy doing. I probably would have secluded myself from the community. Like if the community was any different, like if our Cool Gamer Retirement Home community was any different than it was, like it could have gone sideways fast.
Yeah. I agree.
I think there's something to be said about having a space where you do feel safe in saying no thanks. I don't have the energy to participate in something, or a space where you are allowed to back away from what once was an obligation. And like perfect example is that Catrium and I and another streamer, we were going to do a little farewell to our March for Our Planet. We had planned on April 30th to like go in and play Stardew Valley and decorate. And from what I understand, there was a last minute schedule conflict for one of us. And then Catrium and I were kind of in the voice call, getting ready to think about going live. And we were both just like, I'm really not feeling this tonight. Like, I mean, I could do it, but I would just be forcing myself to click go live and play a game that Stardew is fine. It was one of the first games that we played as a big multiplayer thing as the Cool Gamer Retirement Home. But it's not something I really get enjoyment out of streaming, personally.
Yeah.
So, we just decided at the last minute, we were like, you know what? Do you give me permission to say I don't want to do this tonight? Yes. Do you give me permission? Yes. Okay, we're just not gonna do it then.
I definitely think the big quotation marks on the word safe is super funny and also very important to add, because it's like, technically you should be able to do that anywhere. You
Yup.
should be able to in your own community, in on Twitter, on TikTok, wherever. You should be like, hey, I need to take a day for me. I need to take this time for myself. Like, uh, you shouldn't feel obligated or you shouldn't feel guilty. I'm guilty of feeling guilty for saying like, hey, I need time off. Like, I can't go to
Yep.
this stream that I had scheduled. I can't go to this event that I had scheduled, even like something in real life. And I think like, you should feel safe to say that anywhere. And I know that's not always the case, right? And it's like that's like a general public problem too, not
Yeah.
definitely not just us, but I definitely understand like, like, oh, I feel obligated to stream because it's like I
Yep.
set this time and place. I set this, whatever game I was playing. I said this exactly what I was going to be doing, and it's like, okay, well, everyone knows that that's what I'm going to be doing now, so now I have to do it, and it's like, no, you don't.
And again,
no, you don't.
I've lost count of how many times in the last 6 months I said, okay, it's going to be this month that I come back.
Mhm.
Well, actually, it's going to be this month that I come back. And at this point, I'm just like, I'm just going to come back and not say anything. And that's
Yeah.
okay. Like, it happens.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we
that's
have a supportive
definitely
community about that.
mhm.
Yeah. And like I didn't take quite as long of a break. I think my break was like maybe 2.5 months. But I said the same thing when I was like feeling ready to come back. I was like, do I need to make a big thing out of it? Like, do I need to make this like a big welcome bash type of stream? I'm like, no, I don't. Like,
Yeah.
if people still have notifications on, if people still care, if people are still gonna want to watch, they will come to the stream, whether or not I make a big deal out of it. It's
Yep.
like, hey, I'm here, I'm streaming, I'm still playing games. And there's still people like you guys or people that are like frequent viewers that are gonna come back anyway, like regardless of whether or not you announced you were coming back and made a deal out of it.
Yep.
I did the big, like, tried to make a big deal out of it rebrand thing, and for me, I almost burnt myself out doing that. Because there
Yep.
were so many, like, there was an entire checklist of, like, to-do things
Mm-hmm.
that, it became almost not fun. So I think, like, granted, I had even changed my username, like, months prior. So at this point, it didn't even make sense to, like, keep going because the rebrand had already happened. I just didn't have, like, the new model, the new overlays and stuff up. So what I'm doing moving forward is as I get something new, I'm just gonna show it off. There doesn't... I
Yeah.
feel like there's
Mhm.
this, again, there's this siren call of, but you could turn this into content.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
you
Yep.
could turn this into engagement.
Content.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have an
Content.
aneurysm.
And so,
Content
like,
fairy has shown up.
exactly. And, like, it really is a siren call. And this is, Catrium, you had mentioned something about that part of you that was, like, calling, pulling you just a little bit, saying, you could make money off of it. And,
Yep.
like, I think that's something that we've all internalized, like, from capitalism, saying that, if you are productive, if you make money off of what you're doing, you are successful. And
Yep.
that's what we all want to be. But I don't know. It just...
Success comes in different formats.
It really does.
That's not the word I'm looking for, but
I know what you mean, though. Like, there's different ways to be successful. It doesn't have to look like the picture in the dictionary for you
but
to
we are
be
trained
successful.
that money is what makes success,
We
Mhm.
really are.
unfortunately.
And I think...
And it was
Go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think that's why the siren call is there, because we want to be successful. A lot of people don't try to do a side hustle specifically for the money unless they are trying to, like, actually build a career off of it. And in that case, I don't know if I consider it a hustle or, like, a monetized hobby. Like, I think there's a difference between the two.
Yeah.
But, like, as a hustle, whether your success comes from, like, money or whether your success comes from engagement, that's kind of what that siren call is there for. And it becomes so important to be able to either shut it out or not let it completely mesmerize you, because I don't think it ever looks like the way you imagined that it could. And then, of course, there's disappointment there of, like, well, this isn't what I thought I could do, so now I feel bad about it. And
Yeah.
we don't have to feel that way.
And actually, like, Catrium mentioning podcast, also have dabbled in podcasting. I was part of a D&D podcast that initially I didn't want, and no offense to anyone if any of my podcast peeps are watching, I didn't necessarily want to do the podcast. It was also when I was first starting to DM, so all my baby DM mistakes are just like out there in the open. Hooray. Um but um I was like, sure, we can do a podcast as long as I don't have to do a bunch of work. And I still had to do some stuff. I did not do all the work. My friend did all the work for that. But it was the same thing, like we were playing D&D for fun, and then it turned into let's make it a thing
Mm.
and turn it into kind of a side hustle, and then what do you know, it fell apart. And I think if we had just been playing it for fun and it had fallen apart, like that happens, people's schedules get all like, it's the thing with D&D, that's a whole other one, like schedules, the number one enemy.
Really is.
But I think because we had tried to turn it into a thing, and when it fell apart it hit harder because then you feel like you failed, and we didn't fail at anything. Like we created something and that should have been enough on its own. And it opened, like I'm glad that I did it in a way because it opened a lot of doors for me. Like probably I wouldn't have ever thought about streaming if I hadn't like done charity streams for TTRPGs and stuff like that. But I think again, like we're so tied to that, like that capitalistic of like, money equals success, or engagement equals success, or whatever. And like just as content creators, uh we should just be happy with that we've made something.
Yeah.
Like that in itself is an act of beauty, just making something.
Mm-hmm.
We made something and then we shared it with people, and some people liked it. And that's
Yeah.
like pretty chill.
Like that
Yeah.
should be able to just be the end of it. And I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there's this internalized like obligation of, oh well, I made one thing and people liked it, so now I need to make another thing because people will like it. And it just kind of like feeds the little goblin in the head, the little hamster.
That like that
Yep.
validation that Blaze was mentioning. I was thinking that
Exactly.
too.
Yep.
Yeah, it feels like, like you said, like, oh, okay, well, one person liked this thing, so if I make another thing, maybe more than one person will like it. And it's like, then you're doing it for others and not for you anymore.
Exactly.
You're stuck on that hamster wheel and you're just like stuck with it moving.
Yes, the hamster's on the wheel, not running anymore. It's just
Yeah.
moving.
It's just
I have Fallout Boy stuck in my head lately, so that's where like on the hamster wheel in this rat race.
yeah.
So
You're on the right
Amazing.
call.
I knew I was on the right call. And it's funny because I'm not like one of the big fans. I just happen to like, I enjoy the music and have a family member who super loves them. So I have listened to it a lot recently. But that was like that one line. That, and was it like part-time sorry, full-time problem or something like that?
Part-time
soulmate.
Soulmate. Oh, whoops. I've been hearing it wrong.
Oh, that happens.
No, I was hearing it wrong first too.
That's not an uncommon Fallout
Whoa,
Boy.
yeah. That's that. Welcome to our other panel about Fallout Boy and not being able to understand anything they say.
By Fallout
Like I
Boy.
can write a book.
By Fallout Boy, yeah.
I can write a book about that.
That meme of Fallout Boy and chill, and you still haven't finished reading the lyrics. A song by Fallout Boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
No, that's all
So
right.
I want to put a pin in this, I guess, and say that we've been talking about like making content and stuff, like making things for us, right, and not for other people, or for for a couple of people. Like if if you get engagement, awesome, right?
Yeah.
You're making it for you. And I think I saw a TikTok, about this the other day, and they
Oh,
said,
you're one of the cool millennials.
I am. I'm the oldest person on the app.
TikTok isn't just a song by Kesha for you.
It is for me, and I'm not really a millennial.
So she was saying, this person basically said that producing my own joy is a form of productivity. And
I like that.
your comment about, we are told from such a young age that we need to make money, we need to have the house and the white picket fence and the several dogs and whatever in order to be a productive member of society. But really, I think we need to shift that line of thinking into, if we are fulfilled, if we are, climbing up that hierarchy of needs, if we are, becoming an actualized individual. I know that whole model has been somewhat debunked, but the idea of producing our own joy, that's enough. That's
Yeah.
enough.
And it's so hard to
Producing our own joy.
internalize.
Mhm.
Sorry,
is.
I mean to talk over you.
No, you're good.
Is now a good time to open things up for chat, or does anyone else have anything to say about chapter 2, like finding the community that's going to nurture you? Then we will open things up to chat. I'll read messages in chat, I will answer questions, etc. I have a question for you, Catrium.
Okay, I'm ready.
Oh, Blaze, go ahead. You are free to chat in the VC.
Okay. I just want to touch on something that you had mentioned about you producing your own productivity or fulfillment rather than it coming from someone else. And before I go on, this is a safe space, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when I first moved, give me a second. Sorry about that. When I first moved out here, my dad was, I don't know if pushy's the right word, but he was wanting me to like go explore all these different places, and that's just not me. I mean, my daily life is like I go to work, I come back, I play video games, play piano, and just kind of chill in my apartment. Now, if I'm asked to go somewhere, then I'm more than willing to go and hang out with other people. But for a while, I got stuck in that rut of like, um, I should be trying to live, his view of how I should be living as opposed to myself. And I'm gonna be honest, that kind of got me down for
Yeah.
longer than it should have. And I agree that finding a community that accepts you for who you are, that was vital. I'm lucky to be in a apartment complex that has that kind of community where they're accepting of who I am. And I also want to shout out this CGRH because that's helped me a lot.
Aw.
If I'll make a slight tangent with Minecraft. That's helped too because I don't feel like you guys have made me feel like I don't have to be the best at building or the best at mining. That I can just play with you
Yep.
guys, and that's okay. And I'm more than happy to do that. So not really a question, just more corroboration on some of the points mentioned here. So
It's
Yeah,
it's
thank
nice
you.
to add that life experience.
Yeah.
And let me give a little bit of background. I forget when, but when I was in college, Blaze and I met, and I was co-running the Minecraft server with King Ajarago. We King and I go back like a decade now, at least. But we brought Blaze on. He kind of like did his own thing for a while, and eventually we realized, hey, this dude's kind of cool. And so he was willing to step up and become an admin and kind of like help run the server. And I mean, that kind of fell apart as it does. I could even go into the ways we tried to monetize that server too. But like that kind of just it faded out on its own and ended on pretty good terms. I think I still even have the server Discord like somewhere. And like every now and then someone will say hi and we'll be like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I've told them that the Bedrock server is always open. But anyway, that's just a little backstory.
I think it's really important to bring up about the whole like expectations of others can also like I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like case in point for me, like the expectations of others pressurizing me that I had to monetize on a webcomic.
Mhm.
Like it, you know, uh thankfully I don't think any of my family uh, extended family cared that I did a webcomic or anything, so I didn't have to worry about pressure of that. But it's so easy to be influenced by other people.
It is. Um, I don't know if I have like an exact comparison or anything like that because my family's been fairly relaxed as far
Yeah,
as like hobbies go. Um, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Someone else can take a
it's
turn.
okay.
Yeah, and you get to
Right.
game and stream with them, and that's kind of part of your hobby
That's
too.
Yeah.
I was just saying that the other night. I'm like, I think that's so cool that like they get to kind of join you in something that you love to do so much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You had something, Liz or Katrim.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I really appreciate Blaze. I really appreciate you sharing that story because
Yeah.
I think it's there is a fine line, right, between wanting to um make the people around you happy and making you happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yep.
think that, I'm glad that you've been able to find ways to make you happy, right? Instead of, just sacrificing yourself for the people around you. And I know that that is something that I struggle with. So it's, like you said, the forming the community of, where you live, where you work, where you play games and interact with folks on the internet. Um, that those are all very important
Yeah.
to kind of keep your own safety and take care of yourself and keep your own interests at heart.
Well, and this could be like a whole other panel ever of like
I'm making a
society.
list. Hold on.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
planning the next like 6 months of panels,
Yeah, I
guys.
know. Man, we're set. Like societal roles. Like
Mm.
we're in certain roles and there's certain expectations for that. So like if you're a single person, there's expectations about what that looks like, what you should be doing. If you're a married person, there's expectations for that. If you're a mom, dad, parent, whatever, gender expectation, like the list goes on and on, that we also have to deal with those societal pressures of like like for instance, like you could have people who are parents and the expectation is that they should solely focus on their kids. They're not allowed to have like hobbies or be doing extra stuff or like playing video
Can
games
I
or
interrupt real quick?
yeah, go for
Because
it.
my like I want to say my two brother-in-laws, we were over for Easter, and Fudge was talking about how he like got a new game that was kind of like XCOM, and he's been really enjoying it and like playing so much of it. And both of my brother-in-laws are parents to like multiple young ones. One's got a 2-year-old and a newborn, and the other's got like a 9, a 5, and a newborn. And so they
Yeah.
both looked at him like he was an alien. They're like, "You have free time?" And it's just like,
Yeah.
well, you don't need to make us feel bad about our choices to not be parents,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
I understand it though. Like
Yeah.
society
Well, and
expects them to not have time to do things for
there's
leisure.
there's even an age expectation too, so like and I think this is more of a generational difference. So like I was at like a hangout at work and I was talking about how I was excited about the new Zelda game coming out. And
Mm-hmm.
one of my older coworkers went on this whole like rant about like, "Oh, my 30-year-old son still plays video games and I don't understand." And I'm like sitting there like, "Well, I was just sharing about something I was excited about, but
Literally.
cool." Thankfully my other coworker who did take a whole week off to play Zelda wasn't there.
Incredible.
Yeah,
I know, right?
I'm pretty sure the queer note said they were taking off to like 10 business days to play
Yeah,
Tears of
yeah.
the
That's the
Kingdom.
Yeah,
dream.
I was just gonna say that's the dream. I was like, man, just taking off a week in general right now and just doing whatever I wanted would be amazing. Hashtag capitalism's bad, but uh, I just lost my train of thought. So there we go.
That's fine. I mean, I agree though, to circle back to what you were saying, that there's like an age expectation of like everyone's supposed to outgrow video games by like the time they reach their 30s. And meanwhile, I'm getting ready
Video
to
games
like
for life.
I'm getting ready to do a video game paint night at my 30th birthday, which I think is going to be really cool.
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna drive. I'm gonna drive the 8 hours.
I know. I
You
want
invited
to.
yourself to your party.
We're all just gonna show up. We're just gonna crash it.
You're just gonna crash it. Sorry about the automod, Nat. It's been throwing... I have to check it again, because if it set itself to, like, level 4 again, apparently I got rated the other day, and it set it to followers only, and then it said you had to be following me for a month before they could chat, and I'm just like, what? Automod, chill.
I should probably check my settings before I start doing anything else.
It's not a bad idea. They made a couple changes.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've looked at those.
I literally was like, wait, what did I say?
You said LMAO, how dare you. That's literally what they're holding it for.
Ooh.
Wow.
I know. It's pretty silly. Segment says if I was on the East Coast, I'd be there. Come back!
Road trip party crash.
Road trip.
Please come visit. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I'll worry about the Automod stuff later. So anyway, we were kind of like tangentially talking about roles and expectations of others and doing stuff for yourself. So does anyone else have anything to like kind of add to wrap that topic up, or are we ready to move on to chapter 3, which Nat will bless us with?
Chapter 3 is the
think I'm
positive chapter, I believe.
No,
Okay, never mind. Never mind. See, I was like worried about going first because I'm like, I'm going to talk about burnout and then how all this, like, I got sick and all this stuff. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to be the first one.
Well, see, like, I think that's why this is important, is we're talking about our life experiences, and we're talking about some of the kind of, like, hard and serious stuff we've been through so that we can offer advice for everyone else to, like, get the tools to navigate through it.
I just want to jump into your screen at Pet Inky.
I know, he's sleeping
So
on
much.
the bed, like, he's
Oh my
so
god, I saw
cute.
the boy back there
Okay,
and
hold
didn't
on.
realize it was a cat.
It's a cat.
It's Inky.
All right, Nat.
Wow. Okay, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so my story is also a cautionary tale, and it's very funny that you were like, this is the positive run, right? And I'm like,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm still living the nightmare. So I actually feel like my story is sort of a combination of what Catrium and Island Grandpa has said so far, because so as you may or may not know, I'm a photographer for a living. I chose this life, and it's I guess a little bit of backstory is that like I feel like I'm saying this now, like as an adult looking back on like my high school career, and you know, I've always said it's kind of crazy that they make you pick your career in high school, and they're like, you know, you're at 18 and you have to decide what to do with the rest of your life. And you're like, that's nonsense, right? Because it's like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I felt like I had decided at that point, and I wish I could undecide that, honestly. So my high school career, I spent the entire thing doing music. I never had any art classes. I never really categorized myself as an artist. I was always a singer. I mean, I played the violin from, I don't know, 4th grade to 8th grade, and I was literally only doing it because my sister was doing it, and I wanted to also play an instrument, and so I was like, I'm gonna do the one my sister's doing, because she's older. I don't really understand the point of that, and I never understood, like, why I didn't just pick, like, the viola or some other instrument. And by high school,
Sorry,
my
I
mom
have
was
to
like,
say yes, the viola is the best instrument of all. Sorry.
I really should have just picked anything else. Although, to be fair, because the way my, like, the school system worked, like, the orchestra teacher was the same in middle school and in the high school, so because the orchestra teacher knew my sister, I also kind of had a bonus and was first chair anyway, even if I wasn't the best one there. So I like to share that fun fact sometimes, but anyway.
We love it.
I know, it's like, accidentally, and there was definitely, like, that one girl that was, like, really pissed at me, and like, sorry, you're not as good as me, haha. Even though I don't think that was the case, but anyway, and eventually I stopped being in orchestra and was only in choir, and I was, like, in choir all that entire time, too, so it was, like, I always had music on my mind, especially in school. Like, I would have much rather have been in the choir room than in my classes. Like, I ate lunch in the choir room. I spent so much time with my people that, like, by the time, like, senior year rolled around and I was like, I think I want to do photography for a living, my choir teacher was like, where did you get that idea? Like, you're such a good singer, blah, 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 blah. And I definitely think, like, she had it on me, because I was like in AP Music Theory. I was telling Redry about this when they did the composing stream. I was like, yeah, I got a 4 on the AP Music Theory test, and my choir teacher was like, why aren't you doing music? um, and like, you know, I was forced into taking that test, even though I knew at that point, by the time the test rolled around, that I was only going to be doing photography anyway. And I had photography, and I think like I originally tried to fit it into my high school schedule, but because of my choir classes and everything else I needed to take, I couldn't take photography until senior year, which was a little disappointing because at that point they demolished the dark room, but that's a different problem.
We need to talk because this is so much like the history of my high school and stuff. So can we talk after the stream? Sorry to interrupt, but just like this is too many things are hitting. Seriously,
Yeah.
had it demolished my senior year, the dark room.
They
So
demolished the
anyway,
dark room
sorry.
senior year. And I was really upset about it. So, but I was still like, okay, I'm gonna go to school for photography anyway. And of course, the school that I went to, the college that I ended up going to was like, yeah, you don't need to know anything about photography. Like, we'll teach you everything from the ground up. And I was like, that's amazing, because I really don't know anything. Because our darkroom got removed, our photography was like one semester like mobile photography to cover for that, and the other half was like actual camera photography. And even then, it was like barely camera photography. Like, we didn't really learn anything. I had some +1 points in Photoshop at that point, which was cool. But it was like I went into college like knowing next to nothing about photography, which is so interesting because I was like, I find this a bit essentially a hobby, very interesting, and I ended up going to school for it and getting a useless degree for something that people can learn on the internet. And I say that all the time. I'm like, you know, I've had people ask me before, like, you know, how do you feel about like the fact that everyone has a camera on them, everyone's taking pictures, everyone is doing what you're doing to some degree, even if you are doing it at a professional level. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I mean, my career could become obsolete at some point. It's like, yeah, my cousin's dad is gonna take the photos at our wedding. It's like, why? There, that's not okay. Like, you want the pictures to look like that. It's like, I've definitely, or Katrin was saying about like the freelancing and needing to take every gig. It's like, if you're a freelance photographer, that is so hard, especially in this day and age when everyone is a photographer, right? And it's like, how do you take those gigs? And then it comes down to like having to advertise yourself on Instagram, on social media. And it's like really putting yourself out in the world. And I knew, like, even before college, that I was not very good at that, right? Like, I was like, I am not going to be able to, especially without the skills at the time. I was like, I'm not going to be able to like learn all this on my own. I'm not going to be able to like commit to just doing an online certification for photography, or which I could have easily have done and spent way less money on. But I was like, you know what, no, I think I would rather take the step of like the higher learning to some degree of like getting that knowledge. And I think that sometimes art school can put your mind in a different perspective when it comes to like learning a specific medium like photography. And then so I knew, like, even out of high school, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to advertise for myself. I'm not going to be able to be a freelance photographer because it's like, you're going to starve. Like, you're going to die. And it's not going to be worth it. And it's like, it's so funny. Like, my friend's older sister, who's, her side hustle is photography. And she's the one getting gigs constantly. She has a studio that she can use at any time. It's like, she's the one doing everything that I want to be doing. And it's insane that like she didn't go to school for photography. Like, she picked up a camera and she learned it. And it's like, that to me makes me feel some type of way. It's like, feels like I went the wrong path. I chose the wrong career choice, you know, like I did the wrong side hustle. Although like if you go to school for music, your options are become a teacher. So or become a teacher. And I was like, I'm so good. Not to say that you can't become a photography teacher at some point, and that's definitely obviously that's a path out there. But I think like, so my options are, okay, I need to like go on LinkedIn. I need to find a career that involves taking pictures for other people. And like obviously as a technically entry level position because I'm still a little bit fresh out of college, I will say. It's been only 2 years, so I'm still a baby in that term, but like, and technically like all the jobs are entry level. So now I have this job that I do photography, 8:30 to 5 p.m., and I hate it. And part of it is because so basically I'm taking pictures of, like, my job is entirely I work at a company that is like a consignment store, but they only consign really on eBay. So it's almost like 95% of it is clothes. And like I would even go to as far as saying like 75% is women's clothes. And there is other things, like there is furniture, there's like accessories and whatever. But like I am one of the photographers in the photographer department, and there is, I think, currently 13 of us. And they like it's if you're doing that for 9 hours a day, and you're doing the same exact photos all the time because they have to look like synonymous with all the rest of them. So it's like you're doing the front of the mannequin, the side of the mannequin, the back of the mannequin, and then you're doing all the tags, and that's it. And then you do that for every single item in an 8-hour day. And it's like, that is so. I've described it as being like one brain cell, right? It's like, I'm not trying, I'm not doing anything, I'm not being creative, I'm literally just doing it. And it's like to the point where, because I made that my career, like I barely want to take photos outside of work anymore. Like I'm like I mean I'll take photos on my phone, no problem, and I love doing that, but like I barely want to pick up my own camera outside of work, and like to me that's such a problem. I'm like, I went to school for this, like, the fact that I want to turn around and do something else. And so the other flaw with my college degree is that I was supposed to have a minor in graphic design, but the school messed up my paperwork, and that never went through, and nobody told me. And so I didn't have the minor after all. And so I only took typography 1 until I realized that I didn't need to take any of those classes, because they were not going to further my degree any. And it was like, I have noticed that I like editing photos and I like being at the computer more than being behind the camera. And like, my internship was entirely video editing, which was kind of eye-opening that I don't really like video editing, but I know how to do it. um and it was like, so even though I don't have the graphic design degree, my degree technically says photography and digital arts. And so I'm like, I'm still out there like applying for jobs and like trying to get graphic design career, or photo editing career, because it's related. Even though they'll say like, oh, we'll take a related degree, but like really they won't. They really would rather take the person who has a physical BFA in graphic design, right? And it's like, I feel like I am like the super cautionary tale. Like if Island Grandpa was the cautionary tale, I am like the please don't do what I'm doing. Like do what I say and not what I do, because like I took that step. I'm the opposite of Katri. I'm like, I made that my career and I don't like it. And it's like, I feel like I've learned a lot about myself in the past 2 years of like being at this job of like, you know, I don't I'm doing this just to do it. And I think like like we were kind of saying from the other 2 chapters, like, when I get time to be a streamer, when I get time to like draw, when I get time to fucking watch the anime that I'm watching, whatever, it's like that's like time for me. That's time that I get to feel fulfilled. And it's like, even it's like I don't know how to. I'm constantly battling with myself, like, do I need a job that would be fulfilling? Technically, yes, I know how to do what I'm doing, and I do it just fine. It's like, and it pays okay. Like in retrospect, I would like a job that pays more, but like, because 19 an hour doesn't barely paying my bills. But I'm like, do I need a job that is going to, do I need a career? I think like when I was younger, especially that mindset of like always needing to be successful and satisfied at the same time. It's like I've always had this thought, like a job is like something you don't like, but a career is something you love doing. And it's like, I feel like I've heard that before somewhere. And that mentality of like, of like, oh, you'll never work a day in your life if you love what you're doing, kind of thing. And like, yeah, all of that, right? That shit sucks. And it's like I am doing what I supposedly love doing, and I feel like I'm dragging myself to work every day. And it's like, I shouldn't feel that way. Like, even if I was doing what I would love to be doing, kind of thing, it's like, where's the line drawn of like, how do I balance myself? And then, so, I mean, I've been tweeting about it recently, but like, I've been trying to like, I've been trying to like take my iPad to work with me, right? And it's like I only get a 30-minute break, but like if I get to draw on my break, or if I get to color, or like fucking, even if the one day I was just doing a Sudoku puzzle my entire break, or doing like 2 or 3 Sudoku puzzles, it's like that feels like a brain reprieve. Like, even though my job is one brain cell, it's like, okay, I get some time to like not think about how tedious my job is, and like how like monotonous my day has turned into. And it's like every day feels like a bad day when it's like I'm not doing anything that like is mentally stimulating. And I think that it's another big part of like hobbies. It's like you enjoy it because it's mentally stimulating. It can be challenging. It's something that you look forward to doing. And it's like I don't look forward to photography anymore. And I think that's like the real like killer, right? It's like I did the bad thing and like turned what I loved into a job, and it's now more of a job than a so-called career. Not that I can't foresee myself working there for a long time, because it doesn't look like anyone's hiring me in the graphic design world anytime soon. And also I have like no work to show for it, which is its own problem. So it's like, also I had I guess a little bit more backstory. I had an ex-boyfriend who was very much like the hustle mindset all the time. Like, very like you'll get more work if you do more work. Especially about gigs and stuff like that. Like, he was like, you'll get more work if you do more work, if you have a portfolio, if you have things to show for yourself. And it's like, and he kind of, not constantly, but he definitely got on me about that for a long time. And it was like me being like, oh, I think I mentioned like once or twice, like I was interested more in like graphic design. And he's like, well, you'd have to create the portfolio for yourself so you have something to show. And it's like, okay, but then I have to like come up with stuff on my own and make mock-ups that aren't real, and come up with all the ideas, by myself, just to be like, hey, I know how to do this. This is proof that I have things to show for myself to try and monetize something that I love. And it's like I feel like I feel like I'm constantly circling back on that, like, uh even as a streamer, right? Like, on the flip side, as a streamer, I started streaming as a hobby also, but I also kind of started streaming because a friend of mine was doing it and I thought it looked fun. A friend I don't talk to anymore, but they
Isn't that why we're all here?
yeah, right. It's like, oh, that looks cool.
Yeah.
Like, I could talk to people for hours, right? And it's like, oh, well, and then you find out like, wow, there's people out there that like do this for a living, and they, they're making their entire livelihood off this. It's like, wow, I could probably do that, right? And then that's, I think, when it becomes a little more, a little less fun, a little more toxic. It's like you're trying to do that in like the first month of your streaming. It's like, clearly you're not gonna be making a living off of streaming in the first even like year of streaming, a few 5 years, 2 years. So it's like, and I definitely think that has become one of the reasons why I even took a streaming break. It was like, part of me, like, I was doing a schedule for the longest time. And that was also back when I was living with my mother and was single. And now I feel like, okay, I'm living alone and my boyfriend comes over like 2 or 3 times a week, but it's not predictable and that's not scheduled. So I'm like, my life is sometimes too busy to be scheduled. And it's like, coming to terms with that and like not needing to have a set time, a set game, a set anything. It's like just streaming to stream, right? Just doing it because I want to do it. That has definitely been something that I have come to terms with, even though like I know in my heart that it is a hobby, and definitely like I can't foresee in the near future like becoming a career of a full-time thing to pay my bills. But it's like, I know you were saying this too, like, I'm grateful for anyone that comes in, right? It's like, I'm doing this for anyone that stops by. I mean, hell, I'm doing it for me, really, but it's like, if anyone stops by, it's like, wow, that's great, kind of thing. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like, kind of just to wrap up and summarize what I've been saying, like, I'm the bad cautionary tale of turning what you love into what you think you need to be doing for the rest of your life. And I don't really have like a solution because I'm, like I said, still living the nightmare. My solution is really just like trying to find hobbies that I don't feel the need to monetize, and finding things that fulfill me that I can do in my, downtime when I'm alone, or like streaming. I mean, to me, like, streaming is a downtime thing that I enjoy. Like, if I'm going to be playing games, um I might as well stream them, right? I know we were talking about like Tears of the Kingdom the other day, and like not being like, not wanting to share that because you enjoy that so much, you want it to be a game that you play in your own time, which is definitely something I've been struggling with Tears of the Kingdom too, because it's like, or I know you guys said about Skyward Sword, just like, I want to stream this game, so I feel like I can't play it on my own, and it's like that. I have that mentality all the time. It's like, oh, I have a new game, or I'm buying a new game just to stream it. And it's like, because I don't feel like I have anything to play unless I go back and finish all those other games. Um, but I feel like that can sometimes be toxic too. It's like, I hate to say toxic so much, 'cause it's disgusting.
That's the right word, though.
That's the right word.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
was
it's like,
realizing earlier, like, that's the word I should have been using earlier.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like that is like the the essence of like all the bad stuff in the pit. It's like, I don't know if I have a moral of the story either necessarily, but I
It
definitely
doesn't
feel,
have to be.
yeah, I feel like do what I say and not what I do is
So
don't worry about that.
I have some addendums to your story.
Sure.
Um, you are 25?
Mhm.
25?
It
I
gets better. No, sorry.
I was there. I was there, right? So my first job out of graduate school was that content writing position. And I was writing 4,000 words a day for,
Oh,
I don't know, like a year and a half. And to put that in context, that's like a 12-page paper a day.
no.
And it was for garbage for the internet, right? You talk about Chat GPT and how it's like taking all the stuff from the internet and like putting it into whatever.
Don't even get me
I
started
wrote
on AI.
literal garbage.
That's a whole
Different
other battle.
conversation.
That's the next. That's
Yeah,
yes.
right.
Kick that down the road.
Taking all of our jobs. But anyway, garbage, literal garbage for a year and a half. That's what I did, right? I wrote for essentially clients that didn't know who I am. And you're talking about not having anything to show for it, right? Like they were technically ghost written pieces, so my name's not on any of it.
Oh.
I was just top 5 reasons that cloud computing could be great for your right, like literal trash.
Like, what?
But so what I want to maybe give you a little bit of hope is that what you're doing now with like trying to get graphic design work, right? Doing different right, you're in the muck of making your hobby your career.
It definitely feels that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's gonna be mucky for a bit, but I think so when I was working at that content writing job, I was writing primarily about technology. And what I do now is I do marketing for the technology department at the university, right? So like you take the skills, the kind of nebulous skills that you learn, along the way, and you apply it to your career. So I what I'm trying to say is hang on.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I think
that's the hard
it's
part,
gonna
right? I'm
take a little
like,
bit
It
of time.
is.
Yeah,
It is really
difficult.
hard. And I think so I'll probably go on a few tangents here if that's okay. But so first of all, like again what I said about having roles and societal expectations, like you're somehow supposed to know what you want to do with your life when you're 18 is ridiculous. Can we all agree on that
Yeah.
point?
yeah,
Like
Yep.
it's literally
kudo-
unreal.
kudos to people who did and are doing it. Good for you. Um that's ridiculous. expectation to put on young people. And I would say even being 25 is still young. I'm gonna be 35, and I'm
Oh yeah,
still
I'm definitely the
figuring.
youngest one here. I already
Yeah,
knew that
yeah,
going into it.
yeah. Figuring stuff out. So it's so weird for me. So I was a music student. I was the music theater nerd. I did also do photography. I don't think we're like anywhere. I don't think we lived in the same area. It's just really weird that our senior year we both had our dark rooms torn down.
Also, you're like 10 years older than me,
And
so
I'm
there's
10 years
absolutely
older
no
than.
way it
No,
was the
once
same
you start
school or anything, but
graduating
that's really funny.
when you said you graduated college 2 years ago, I was like, well, there's no way. Um, but anyway, I originally so I am currently part of why I haven't been streaming is I'm finishing a bachelor's degree. I have been attempting to get a bachelor's degree since 2006. It is almost 20 years.
Yeah, it's
Um,
pretty like that.
am I getting a degree in what I want to do? No. Is it going to help me with capitalism in the job field? Yes, maybe. So with that, I originally went to school to be a music teacher,
Mm.
and I actually play viola, so that's why I was
Same
all like,
here.
yeah, violas are the best. Yeah. I play a bunch of other things, but viola is my main instrument. Um, and I was a music ed student for 3 years until I had. So we're gonna go into Island Grandpa backstory here for a minute. I was a music ed major for 3 years until a family event happened that kind of changed the whole course of my life, and essentially realized that getting out of being a music teacher, I wasn't gonna make a lot of money. And music teacher jobs are really hard to get because unfortunately, the art's under fire and get aka capitalism's bad. Um, so
Yeah,
I
even back then.
yeah, and so I switched gears. I'm good at math, so I went and started an accounting degree. And I won't go into the whole like I've had to be in and out of school for various reasons. I finished an associate's um 8 years ago in accounting because supposedly the associates was supposed to get me an entry level job. It kind of did, kind of didn't. It did not get me an entry level job in an accounting, which is fine because I've learned I hate accounting. That is not what my bachelor's is in. Um, so I kind of went from like I have a career trajectory to I'm not gonna have a career. I thought I was pretty much just gonna be a housewife at one point. Like that was just kind of how things were looking. Um, which was really difficult when you are like instilled from a young age that you're supposed to go to college, get your degree, and go to work. And like that again, nothing wrong with being a housewife too. Like shout out to all those people too.
Wait,
Um,
I'm sorry to interject. I just feel
oh, it's
like
okay.
a lot of that, like you saying like, "Oh, I thought I was gonna end up a housewife." It's like it's so funny that like the generation above yours and ours is like, they didn't a lot of them didn't get to go to school. Like
Yeah,
neither
yeah,
of my
that's why it
parents
was
went to college.
same. So that's why it was instilled in me of like you're gonna go to college, you're gonna do this. And I just want to be
Mhm.
very clear that there's nothing wrong with being a housewife, stay at home mom, any of that. I just want to be very clear like I'm only speaking from my experience that that's not what I wanted to do with my life. Though now, of course, being working for what I've done for the last 5 years, I'm like, I wouldn't mind if didn't have to go to
maybe
work every day.
maybe the housewife
Maybe,
thing.
I
but
still don't
it's
know if
hard.
that's enticing.
Either way is hard too. So they've pros and cons to both. So what's funny though is to segue into this. I got a bachelor's or an associate's in something that essentially just because I was good at math. I don't know why I didn't do a math degree, but whatever. Um, and thanks to that, at least having that stupid piece of paper did help me get into what was essentially a glorified admin assistant role.
Mhm.
And my skills from that uh, ended up turning into something bigger. So I work as a data analyst, kind of, sort of. We'll just say yes. So I'm gonna tie this all together. I promise. Um, I did the web comic for 2 years, 3 years. I did webcomic work. Then that later segued into like I did some graphic design for people later on. I'm not a graphic designer, but I even thought about going to school for it and then I realized that I didn't want to do it. And saved myself a lot of money. But then so I did like art stuff for other people. So I have a portfolio. It's not really a true one, but that was still job experience. And then um I ended up working for like one of those like paint and sip companies, and I
Mm.
did art for them for a while. Another reason why I have art problems, because when your job is to literally recreate the same piece of art multiple times and it's already someone else taking, like, oh, someone did a version of Van Gogh and you're doing the same crappy version. But anyway, I realized from those, that later on in the where I work now, when I had the chance to get a promotion into a data analyst title, I was able to take my experiences from all those things that I did. So as far as like, I had administrative work because I had to do my own admin stuff with the comic or whatever. Data analytical, I had to do analytics. I watched my analytics for like how many people are viewing, like views and stuff like that. Like there's Google Analytics and stuff like that. All the stuff that you never think you actually do. Like there's so much involved that you don't realize that you can actually build up your resume and set that as things that you've done. Um and I had another point, and of course I didn't write it down, but um like I think, like for me, I went from thinking I'm not going to have a career at all to now all of a sudden I kind of have a career, and it's not in what I wanted to do. It's not like, thankfully there's stuff I'm doing now that I enjoy doing, but it's not what I would have ever gotten my fulfillment from. Like I still get a little bitter that um I'd love to be a music teacher. Unfortunately, that's just not a door open for me. And I think actually after the pandemic, that was probably a good thing I
You
wasn't a
made good
music teacher.
choice.
Yeah.
I know a few
uh,
music teachers just
You
from
you
being
can
in
ask my
music
Shout
so
sister
out,
long.
about that.
shout, yeah,
Yeah.
shout out to all the teachers
Music
and
teachers and teachers
everyone.
special.
Like,
We love
you
you.
all are just, you need to be paid more. Um
So true.
but I think part of it is like especially when you're starting out, it's gonna suck. Like I struggled a lot when I started working this job that I didn't necessarily want to work but had to for financial reasons. That I was like, well, I don't get my fulfillment from this because it's so ingrained that we're supposed to get fulfillment from
Mm-hmm.
our jobs. And I
Exactly.
realize it's hard to, like, in your situation where you had something that was a hobby and now you have to do something tedious all for 9 hours a day. Like, that sucks. Um, but if you can find the little extra things that you do to do all that, you can build yourself up a little bit more in terms of just like, I didn't mean to turn this into a job advice thing of like a resume or whatnot, but like find little things that you wouldn't think would even be a thing, and you can turn those into to build more stuff up. But it does, like, once you start finding your way and finding the things that you're good at and the things that work well for you, you're able to start applying those for the stuff, and you can start narrowing what you're looking for too.
Yeah, I feel like right now because I have a job, I'm not really like trying to be too like picky about like what I apply to at
Yeah.
this point because I'm like I'm not in a hurry, I'm not really in a rush, I'm not really paying attention. I'm mostly just making sure like the job listings look legit and that's it. And
Yeah.
if they're not like super hard to apply to, like a lot of times
Oh
they're like
yeah.
a six
Yeah.
page cover letter. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I don't care. Bye. Like
And I'll tell you, as someone who works in hiring sometimes, I bet you they don't even read it.
that's what I'm saying. Why do you
They'll read
require it?
they'll
Like it doesn't
skim
make
it. They'll
any
skim it.
sense.
Um,
That's why I
which is,
just copy and paste it if I'm being honest.
yeah, no.
I have
Uh,
a template.
Yeah.
guess who? I have a template. Guess who totally messed up at one point when they sent it to someone and had the wrong company name on it? Whoops.
I feel like that
They always
happens to
look
the
for
best
that.
of us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot.
especially when you're doing like so many of them in a day.
Mhm.
As you know, Redria.
I sure
Yeah.
do.
So,
I was gonna say you've been on that train a lot, right?
it's
I've
not. I think, and I think I talked about this with Redria earlier. Having grace for yourself, like, just because you study, like, obviously, like, okay, you're not doing what you wanted to do and it hasn't necessarily worked out the way that maybe you were hoping, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing something bad or that you failed or anything like that. Like you have to have grace for yourself. You're surviving in this environment. You're
I'm
just
surviving living alone in this environment, which is a
yeah,
feat on its own, its
you're
own itself.
No, I
you
really
are
no, that's
doing
huge.
the best you can, and our best look like out. This is, of course, memed everywhere, but it's true. Like our best really looks different each day, and our best also looks different in our lives
Hmm.
through different phases.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Catrium did the whole content writing garbage stuff for however long. By the way, 30K in Chicago is ridiculous.
It was a fun time, and I was also married, and I was the primary breadwinner.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Great time.
Ouch.
Like I have been privileged in my thing where I'm not the breadwinner, so I have additional income, so I've had a little more wiggle room in the I've been married for almost 13 years to I don't want to say find myself because I don't feel like I've ever found myself or anything, but like I've obviously had room to like explore being a webcomic person or being a podcaster
Hmm.
or being whatever and stuff like that. But like all our journeys look different, and just because we took different steps and maybe those steps didn't work out the way that we did doesn't necessarily mean we've failed.
Mhm.
It's just another step in the growth aspect. And like I know it's really hard when like you're in it right now and it just seems crappy. Um
Yeah.
but there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Where are
Like
your lights?
yeah, where the lights shine. It's actually okay to go towards these lights. It's not a train. Um but like that doesn't invalidate, just to be clear at the same time, that's not to invalidate how you feel now.
Yep.
Like
Mhm.
how you feel is completely valid. Um but I don't want you to feel like you've like failed or anything like that too, because like we've all gone through different things and tried different stuff, and like it may have not worked out this way or whatnot, but i I have found from my life that even though I did these experiences that didn't work out, I was able to take something from each of them and turn it into something else. And I talked way too long, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Um, so what it sounds like the positive spin on Nat's chapter
Yeah, I'll take the positive spin because I don't have it.
was that you are looking to find hobbies that fulfill you in your downtime, because the hobby
Yeah.
that you took up as a career doesn't always feel fulfilling right now. And so you're finding these things that are mentally stimulating for you. I've been having issues at my current workplace, and honestly, I feel bad for even complaining about it, because some weeks I will go in and there's only about 2 hours of actual work to do in a day, and then I will pretend to look busy for 6 hours, because I have a feeling if they knew just how little work I had to do, they would have let me go a long time ago. They would have not even extended my contract a month. And
Yeah.
that's no fault of mine.
No.
Because of the weird contract stuff that happened, and if you didn't know, my last day at my job is next Friday. But if you didn't know, I feel like they stopped looking for new stuff for me to do because they knew. I feel like somewhere somebody knew that I was not long for this world at my current workplace. And so, like, I went in and I kind of just felt like a ghost floating around and existing and taking up space and having nothing to do. So, you saying that on your breaks you look for something that's mentally stimulating for you, I relate to that very, very deeply. After, like, sitting at my desk, trying not to sleep, staring at a computer screen, saying, I could be doing this at home. I could be doing a million more things that I like to do at home, but I can't get paid at home. I have to
Right.
be here. And so what I've been doing in the past couple of weeks, particularly because I didn't know if they were going to lengthen my contract, was trying to find that stuff that is mentally stimulating. Find stuff that I like to work on in my spare time that I can do at the office. Because they sure do block a lot of websites at my workplace.
I bet.
Um
I work at a university. We can't block anything.
I want to say,
I work
like,
in the government. Everything's blocked.
it's strange because a lot of social media websites were not blocked, but like I would be trying to like Google a Breath of the Wild mushroom because I wanted to draw it on my trading card, and I click on the wiki link and it's like blocked. That's gaming. What's wrong with you? So like a lot of like
I can't believe
wiki...
you're thinking about gaming at work.
How could you?
Itch.io
So
was
weird.
blocked.
You wouldn't
Twitch is
download a
blocked.
pizza.
I did at one point try to play the Gordlitz demo because it was on Itch.io and it was blocked, and I was very sad.
No.
But I digress. Does anyone else have anything to contribute to chapter 3, or do we want to move on to chat questions if they have any?
I just want to say that, like, I know you guys are older, wiser. Not like
I
I don't mean like in a you know what I mean. You guys are all like 5-10 years older
I just
than
wouldn't
me.
agree. I wouldn't call myself wise, but I
I mean,
I
I'll say
appreciate it.
wiser very gently, but I mean more in the sense of like been there, done that. Like I really have to say I appreciate all the advice and like everything you guys have to say.
And
Aw, thanks.
I think that's what this is for, is like the four of us, different stages of life, are coming in to share our life experience and to see if it can give anyone a little bit of comfort moving forward. If chat doesn't have any questions about finding hobbies that fulfill you in your downtime, I can start my segment, but I'm giving people a minute or two.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a quick
questions
water
or-
break because my water bottle is empty.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can take a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
Because I also could use a bio break. I have been drinking
Cool.
water to stave off headaches and also look
Yeah,
at Inky.
let's take a gentle break then, so I can fill my water up.
You
Yeah.
see
I
Inky?
need a snack.
He's taking a bath.
Inky. Yeah, just watching him a little bit.
He's being a baby. Doing Inky things. Alright, I'm gonna deafen. I'll be back in like 2-ish minutes, and I'll wait until
Okay.
everyone's back, and then we can continue. Inky Cam. Oops, I did not deafen. Oh well. about to hear me clacking. Starbits! Alright, let me see where everyone's at in the Discord.
They just forgot the shoulder strap part, so now I have to wait for the shoulder strap part. Well, they messaged me right after they shipped it saying, "We found shoulder straps. We think they're part of your order, but we're not sure. So let us know when you get it." But of course, it came from across the country
Oh
or
my god.
another country. So it's,
Also, Redra, we like your shirt.
Thank you.
yeah, your shirt is awesome.
Also, I am back, and let me do a little segue here, because I'm wearing a necklace. I don't know if you can see it.
Ooh.
Kind of, sort of. Is it the
I can't-
necklace?
It is the necklace.
Yeah.
The Eye of Ender pendant, and it is splendiferous.
Oh,
Nice.
in person.
Are we gonna do a small promo? We should do a small.
We should do a small promo for Pridecraft.
Especially since we're all participating, right?
We
Not me.
Island Grandpa's not
Oh, okay.
participating
I
this
wasn't
year.
sure.
I was gonna bring a comment about that, when we're we don't pressure people of yeah, I participated last year, I'm choosing not to this year, and it's totally fine.
Or yeah, well, even
cool.
even with the March one, I was planning on doing it, and then kind of right before it was supposed to happen, I decided to take a Twitch break, and I messaged Reggie. I was like, hey, I don't think I'm gonna be able to participate, but I still want to watch, kind of thing. And she was like, yeah, of course, it's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I forgot all about that until you said that. I was like, yeah, I totally get that.
I want to say this for Pridecraft, we're at least trying to have a deadline for people to add or drop, but I do understand, life happens. It gets in the way sometimes, and I don't want this to become, again, an obligation. But I have a command for this. This June, from June 12th to the 30th, we are doing our second annual Pridecraft. This is a charity campaign that the Cool Gamer Retirement Home hosts, where we play Minecraft and we raise money for an LGBTQ forward charity organization. This year, the organization is going to be Point of Pride, which helps with trans individuals and their access to healthcare, which is a very important thing to support in our current environment. Yep. And I feel like it's important to kind of look into that. We didn't want it to be okay, it's the Trevor Project every year, same, in and out,
yeah,
tailor it to...
Nothing wrong with Trevor Project, but, there's a lot of places out there to support.
There really are. So that's I'm gonna have a schedule out soon. I'm gonna start following up and nudging our current participants to, pick a time slot so that I can make a nice, pretty poster. And I do have a poster for, at the very least, our current list of participants. There are 11 of us, and it's gonna be a fun time. I was showcasing the area in Minecraft with Mom last night, where we're going to be building our parade balloons, and we're gonna do a recreation of the house from Up, and build it as a giant retirement home. And
that's amazing.
People can decorate rooms in it.
It's gonna be
amazing.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. I am looking forward to it. And then, of course, if you donate to Point of Pride during our charity campaign using our Tiltify link, there's a lot of different incentives that the different streamers are going to have. There's also bingo, and then lastly, the biggest incentive that we had from last year was people buying pixel art statues, and so those are gonna become parade balloons that join the rest of the parade. I think it's gonna be fun. So
that's so good.
I digress. I don't think we had any questions on chapter 3, so I
don't think we did either.
I don't think so.
I guess it's my turn.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys weren't expecting me to have to know what I'm doing, because I don't. But you know what? I have learned over the past couple of years to trust myself, and I haven't been let down yet, so we're gonna run with that. So I talked a little bit about at the beginning of this as to what spurred this entire idea for hobbies and hustles to be our first topic. And for me, it was not only the fact that I hadn't played Skyward Sword because I wanted to stream it, but it was also the fact that Tears of the Kingdom was coming out. And there was a lot of pressure, you know, everyone's asking you, ooh, are you gonna be playing Tears of the Kingdom? Do you think you're gonna stream it? There was this building pressure of making it into content. And that sometimes takes some of, like, the hobby part out of it. And it firmly pushes it over into that hustle part. And I think that's what I'm here to talk about today. I had to look up the definition of hobby because it has kind of changed and evolved, and it is defined as a regular activity that is done for enjoyment, typically during leisure time. And I collect hobbies as a hobby. I really do. I had a phase in... Oh, let me start my timer, actually. I had a phase in high school where I was doing a lot of hand sewing, and I would, like, cut out pieces of felt and make little hand-stitched pictures, murals. Like, I used to make some, like, zipper bags. Okay, that was not...
I have one of them.
Oh, yeah!
I have a special ornament you made.
Oh, that's right. And that's another thing, is that, like, I have, in different stages of my life, I have turned to monetizing these things, but I wouldn't call it, like, a full hustle, if you know what I mean. So there's the hand sewing. My husband Fudge started wood burning when we lived out of state, and I also started learning how to wood burn. And then I for a couple of years was making wood burnt ornaments for my tabletop.
I also
Room.
have one of those.
So-
Not that particular
That's
one.
cute.
So this says Brash Band. I know it's backwards because cameras are fun, but that was the name of one of our adventuring parties. And so, like, usually these ornaments kind of, like, reflected what party we were playing as. And I'm not saying we had a brand new party each year, so, like, the one year I just did the D&D logo. I took up soap making during the pandemic because I thought it looked fun. And then, of course, there's, like, that little inkling of, like, oh, you could make handmade soap for, like, all your coworkers as a holiday gift. You could do this, you could do that. So I think, and then I bake. I have baked cupcakes and brought them into work. And even one time, a coworker did pay me to make her cupcakes. I draw. I have commissions that can be open. So I feel like I kind of dabble in a little bit of everything. And the hard part for me is that pretty much all of those hobbies are subject to hustleification, for lack of an actual word for it. It's something that, like, you can make money off of it, and that siren call is going to be there. It's gonna be pulling you and saying, yeah, but I mean, you could sell that. You could become pretty popular if, like, you sold that. You could be successful. And when you're doing something, like, solely because you are trying to turn it into a side hustle, I don't think your brain shuts down in the same way that it does when you're doing it for leisure. I think the brain's functioning differently when you're doing something specifically with the intent to make money off of it, to try to turn it into a hustle, to try to turn it into engagement. Your brain doesn't shut that, like, productive lever off. And I think your brain needs that break. It really needs that switch to be shut off so that you can truly enjoy and, like, get the leisure out of it. Do it for you.
Yep.
And if you even if you're doing something that you like, if you constantly do this thing that you like without stopping for the leisure time, it's very highly likely to lead to burnout. And we have some great examples of burnout that we talked about today. Capitalism, as intended, drives us with a need to make money or, like, have high engagement to feel productive and feel worthy. And I'm gonna tell you that's not true, but I understand that understand that until you internalize that, I can say that over and over and over again, but it has to mean something to you. You've got to take that and tell yourself it's true and internalize it. Now, I will say, there's nothing wrong with monetizing a hobby or doing a hobby for engagement because you like it. It's not inherently wrong. I just think that brains do genuinely need that time of rest, that time of leisure to say like, well, I'm just gonna play video games for me, or like, oh, I'm gonna draw this picture for me.
Yep.
As a people-pleasing person, I am really bad at doing my hobbies for almost everyone but myself. Like, I asked my mom to buy me some Sharpies for either Christmas or my birthday the one year. And she went above and beyond. She bought me, like, I want to say 60 markers, and it filled an entire zipper pouch, and it was a lot. And the first couple of things I started doing Sharpie art for were pictures for coworkers and, like, Christmas gifts for family, and, like, pretty much for everyone but me. And again, like, I am subject to that in a lot of ways as a people pleaser. Like, when I do baking, I like to share it, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to kind of be mindful of, like, well, are you baking something that you're at least going to enjoy eating? Because I've done a couple of batches of cupcakes where it's like, yeah, I don't like lemon cream, so I'm not even going to eat one of these, but you guys enjoy them. And again, if you enjoy that enjoyment of others, there's nothing wrong with that. But there has to be space for you to do something that's for yourself, that you can shut your brain down, enjoy, have some leisure time. Now, there's a lot of people in our community, on Twitter, that get to do what they love and earn money for it. But in my opinion, it changes if it's something that you depend on. So, like, your income, your source of livelihood literally depends on people receiving and enjoying your content, and that just, it adds so much extra stress. It changes it. So I think that having separate hobby time that is just for you is very, very important. Sorry, I need more water. I'm talking too much. I mean, it's my turn to talk, so, you know, it makes absolute sense. And when you depend on your hobby that you've turned into a career for your livelihood, you're gonna have a lot of different feelings about it. We talked earlier a little bit about like the validation aspect of hobbies, about wanting to post it and like kind of craving that engagement. Well, I know a couple of like big time partnered Twitch streamers that are still self-conscious about numbers. There's a streamer that I follow who, like, I was watching a YouTube VOD, and he was kind of like, yeah, I don't want to stream Breath of the Wild because anytime I stream Breath of the Wild, I have under 1K viewers, and it just doesn't make sense to play that game. And it's just like, I can't imagine being at that point where, like, you can't play XYZ because it doesn't bring in viewers, and viewers equals money. Like, that's gotta change it. It's gotta be a completely different world from where we're at. And I like the fact that for us, Twitch streaming is, it varies. Sometimes it's getting together and just chatting about life experiences. Sometimes it's 6 people making fun of one person for dying repeatedly in Core Keeper. That happens sometimes. Sometimes it's me and my mom playing Minecraft together. And last night I even asked her, I was like, this could just be a straight to YouTube thing. And she was like, I have no preference. So I clicked go live because I figured, you know, let's share this with some other people. It can be a lot of different things. And when you flip that switch, when it's not just a hobby and it's not even just a side hustle, this has been turned into like a career, a source of livelihood. It changes it. Nat, I think that kind of it feeds in at least to your experience that you shared with turning something that could be a hobby into a career and how it's very different for you than it used to be. Um, Hi, Inky. Do you want to say hi?
Inky.
Sorry, guys. You know Inky.
Inky derailing the whole thing.
Oh, he's good at that. He has to derail us at least once, if not twice. So, my main takeaway, and I'm not done, but like my main point that I want to talk about here is that you need to find hobbies that you are actively enjoying and not just passively enjoying. Sometimes when I'm streaming, I do get passive enjoyment out of like, we're playing video games, I'm playing Minecraft with my mom, this is fun. But it's not the same as playing with the camera and the microphone turned off. There's just something that fundamentally changes about it when it turns from hobby into hustle, where you are now passively enjoying this. And is that fine? Yes. But I don't feel like it heals you the same way. And every now and then we get beat down from work, life, circumstances, really whatever. You get beat down, and sometimes that results in needing a mental health day to kind of like reset and heal. And then sometimes you can kind of like try to heal as you go. It really depends on how bad things are. Obviously, people know their bodies best. So like if you know, oh, I'm so exhausted after XYZ that I can't go to work tomorrow. I can't be a productive member of society. I just need to focus on myself so I don't get sick. And there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes, like, we're always going to be taking damage from everything that happens to us in life. And I think the whole point of a hobby is that you want it to be something that's nurturing, that's healing, that's enriching. Sorry, I had a big point. Yes, separate hobby time is still something that everyone should prioritize in their life, because the goal of a hobby is enrichment, not riches. I know a lot of people who do end up going after hustles aren't always specifically doing it for the money. And it's either like that secondary thing of money equals success that they're going for, or it's that thing of engagement equals success. And it's that siren call calling you all over again. And I think the best way to combat it is to make sure you find things in your life that you can actively enjoy and not just passively enjoy. I think having things that you can, like, I don't know, for me a podcast is something that's very passive. I do that while I'm doing something else. And it's just a passive way that I get a little bit of enjoyment, but it's way different than like saying, okay, I'm going to like not look at email or phone or social media. I want to play my video game. That's actively enjoying it. You're setting aside that time. You're shutting down all of those other tabs in your brain to say, I would like to do this, please, and recharge. And I think that is my takeaway from this, is that between hobbies and hustles, they're both fine, but if you don't give your brain that space to heal, to actively enjoy the things that you're doing, that's what leads to burnout. And again, I can say it, and I can say it, and I can say it, and I'm saying it for me to try to internalize it and bring it in. I think that's most of my talking points, so I'm even 5 minutes ahead of schedule. So we can open up to everyone else, if anyone else has anything to add.
I just wanted to say about, you made a good point that I'm not sure if anyone else really said about, like, you know, putting your phone down and like and the active enjoyment of, okay, I'm stepping away from the universe and everyone so I can play Tears of the Kingdom. Like I'm
Yeah.
ignoring my phone. I'm ignoring social media. I want to literally cut this time out of my life to be like, and it's not wasting time either. I'm like you said, like, you know, making that enjoyment time for yourself is still like proactive. And I think like that's I mean we kind of said that, but like I feel like the point of like, you know, putting your phone down, like really stepping away um to purposefully actively enjoy something is also what makes a big difference for sure.
And
Yeah,
I think to
I
touch on. Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
No. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I enjoy the distinction that you're making between active and passive
Mm-hmm.
enjoyment thing. And what you said that really kind of resonated with me is that passive enjoyment does not heal you in the same way as active enjoyment.
Yep.
Agreed.
That like you said, the podcasts are passive enjoyment activities. You do that while you do other things, right? And I think I find myself doing more passive things. And now you saying that makes me think that there are ways that we should, and I should personally find more ways to be active in the end. Thank you for
Way of being present.
that.
But also like to add to what Nat said and just the general thing. Something I saw a while ago that I was like, hello, of course. Free time does not equal availability.
Mm.
Just because you have free time does not mean that you have to do something. You have to give your time to someone or something. Not to say that you can't do a hobby with your free time, but your free time is for you to choose what you want to do with it. If that's just sitting and doing nothing, that is valid. If it's actively engaging in a hobby, it's valid. Just because you have free time does not mean that that time has to be given away.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. Boy, that's a point.
I saw that and I was just like, well, duh. Like, man, I wish I would have thought of that a long time ago.
It's like we knew that, but it's again that like
Someone has
sentiment
to say it.
saying it and really hitting you with it, like smacking you over the head with like, yes, that's okay, like a big freaking. I'm picturing like piece of cardboard that says that's
Yeah.
okay and just smacking you on the head with it a lot. Um,
I definitely fully agree with the active and passive thing too. Like
Mhm.
I have struggled a lot with like balancing even, and part of it is probably I'm very burnt out from school, so like my attention span is gone, which comes into executive dysfunction with my ADHD of just like even having energy to do hobbies. Um and honestly, like Zelda coming out has been like a big boon for me because it's been hard for me
Mhm.
to sit and focus on doing a thing. Like I've been having other games that I've tried to play, but I've played those games into the ground and you can only do so much. Rip Animal Crossing. But I love Animal Crossing, but like you only get to some point. I can't keep redoing the island. Um but like I think that's really important, like, and like I said, being present, like taking that time and making it to be about you, like, and even back to what Kat said of producing your own joy.
Mhm.
Like I think all of those are related.
I also think like I know you just mentioned like executive dysfunction and we didn't really touch on how like, you know, mental health problems can affect your ability to even want to do hobbies,
Yep.
especially in a capitalistic society of where like, okay, I'm working 9 to 5 and I go home and I'm too tired to do the things
Yep.
that I want to be doing. And
Yep.
that's, I mean, I'm sure you guys are nodding in agreement, and that's definitely something that I struggle with too. It's like, okay, not only do I not have time to like do the things I have to do, like the dishes or cook dinner or something, especially someone living alone. It's like I
Yep.
don't even want to sit. I want to sit down and stare into the abyss for the next 4 hours until I have to go to sleep. Like, so I think that's like a probably another conversation to be had because it's a big can of worms. But it's certainly worth mentioning that probably plays a part in, like, accepting the fact that, like, a hobby is a hobby, and it's okay if it's like separate from what you want to do or what you feel like you have to do.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think like, oh, go ahead.
well, just like the thing about having that set aside time, right, for hobbies, it's difficult. It's difficult to set aside time for it. But if you think about it in the way that, like, this is not, I'm not doing this to be a productive member of society. I'm being productive in this way that I am healing myself. Reggie, I love that phrasing. I'm gonna use it. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
steal it. But yeah, like, you are actively healing the part of you that gets knocked down, for lack of a better phrase, by the rest of your workday. And yeah, I mean, I don't have all of the answers for that because
And I
I
think
struggle with
looking
that.
at that was like my solution of why I started streaming was I wasn't between school and work, I wasn't having time to play games. And video games are important for me. That's something I enjoy. It's a hobby I love doing. And so for some reason for me making this, like, if I'm going to commit to doing a stream, that somehow tricked my brain into thinking like here's a time that I can enjoy a hobby. But it worked. And sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to trick your brain,
Mhm.
especially if you have ADHD or some other executive dysfunction or whatnot. Um, like sometimes you gotta work with what you got. Uh, of tricking stuff. And then also like for me recently, so like sleep has always been a problem for me. And so one of the things recently is I've literally been prescribed by a doctor to go to sleep later. But part of that is that I'm supposed to spend an hour, which seems like such a long time with everything you have to do in a day. The hour before I go to bed, turn off my phone or put it on sleep mode, no screens, no anything, and to do something calming. Now, I have cheated a little bit and been playing Zelda, but um like I
Zelda's
spin
not on your
yard
phone.
it's not on my phone.
It's
It's
a
on a
screen.
screen, but yeah. But like I spin yarn or reading was the number one suggested. I used to read all the time and then
Mhm.
life got too busy. Now I'm like getting to read books I've always wanted to read, and I'm healing in this way because I'm getting to spend time where I can just turn off my brain. I don't have to look at Instagram's my like Achilles heel of like always being on.
Same.
Um like I don't have to constantly see who what posted when where, and just turn it off and just do something for myself. And I think like I realize not everyone is in a position to be able to do that, but I think being able to set we'll go with the active healing. Set some time for yourself to actively heal in whatever way that looks for you. Whether
Mhm.
it's doing nothing, doing one of your hobbies, or something calming, reading, whatever. Like and I think it ties into a lot of what we've said of like taking care of yourself. Like hobbies are important.
They really are. And to me, there's nothing better than I don't know if it's a hobby time sink, an ADHD time sink, or somewhere in between. But my most recent experience was oddly enough at work when I was drawing Dennis's trading card. They had donated money to the March for Our Planet, so they got a physical trading card, it like done in Sharpie, and probably not the most appropriate setting for it, but I do not care because my last day is next Friday. So like I just at my desk had all of my Sharpies out and was doing the trading card, and I completely lost track of time. And that to me is what like a healing hobby is when you can like
Mhm.
look back at the clock and you're like, where did 2 hours go? and
Oh my
just
gosh,
feel so
yes.
much better about it.
Yeah.
Definitely when Tears of the Kingdom came out, I was like, I've been sat here for 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and like, I know we keep bringing up Zelda, but it's been a big thing for all of us.
I
It
know,
Like,
yeah.
has.
some of the people know, I was really stressed out about it coming out because I I have a whole long history about Zelda. I won't go into that whole long thing, but I was stressed out. Breath of the Wild just wasn't like my favorite. I'm always gonna be like the handheld Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages. That style is always gonna be more my thing. And the weapon breaking still is my bane.
Sucks.
Yeah, it's come on, Nintendo. But I have found myself sitting down and playing Tears of the Kingdom for a long time, and I did not expect that. And like I did have a point where I was almost like I'm getting bored. And you know why? Because I was doing what I thought I was expected to do. But once I went and did my own thing, I'm having more fun again. Like I don't even know what's going on, and I'm sure there's like a bunch of stuff I should have right now, but I'm just like
Man, I just want
going
to run
all over
around
the
on the
place.
horse for like 3 hours and I could
Yeah,
be
yeah.
totally satisfied.
Yeah, I've just been like climbing whatever I can, jumping off, flying to some wherever else, and like,
Me.
oh, where am I at now? Oh, I'm maybe under level. Let's run away. But I'm still having fun, and like that's valid. Like, I mean, that could be a whole other thing about there's no wrong way to play a game, hypothetically. But
We got 6 months of
like,
panels planned out, guys.
Yeah,
yeah,
We
I
gotta slow
know.
down.
I'm making a list.
But again, like I think it's been really like we keep bringing up Zelda, but I think it's been really important for a lot of us of like it's actually been a game that we could just relax and like actively involve ourselves in.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I had
Agreed.
a train of thought. I'm gonna try to find it.
What was that you cut out?
Oh, I found my train of thought, so that's good.
Oh, good.
So that kind of it brings me back. You mentioned that you weren't sure if you were doing what the game expected you to, and that's when you started to get bored. And we just keep circling back to this expectations or like should be doing. And it's really important to try very hard to separate yourself from that because
Yep.
obviously I'm gonna say this. You should be finding ways to heal yourself. You should be finding ways to enjoy life, do a hobby, shut your brain off, do whatever is going to refresh you and rejuvenate you so that you can go into the next day. But there's so many expectations about what people think that should look like. And that is what you need to kind of like protect yourself against and shut out because again when something that you passively enjoy turns into oh I should do XYZ, like oh there's a new episode of a podcast I should listen to that, oh there's a new video game coming out I should play that, oh I wanted to do this thing for a coworker I should go work on that, like try to get this is straight from the mouth of my therapist, try to reframe all of the should haves in your life. You either want to do it or you don't. There is no should.
Yep.
I like that.
I still swear that my therapist could be an alternate universe version of myself. She had orange hair the last time we spoke, and about a year ago, guess what color her hair was?
Green.
It was green.
I was gonna say, that's funny.
So if anyone else has something to contribute to the chapter 4, which is finding ways to actively enjoy what you're doing and heal yourself, feel free. I don't want to interrupt if anyone had anything else to add, but we can also open up to chat questions.
I'm cool with opening to chat.
Alrighty. Chat questions, comments, excerpts, experiences. Honestly, like, it's not, we're not particularly strict on the structure we're doing here. This has been a lot of winging it with, like, a couple of bullet points written down, so if you're having a good time, we're doing it, guys.
It's just a round table.
It really is, and I think that's all it ever should be. It doesn't have to be a TED Talk.
Yeah. God, please no.
Hi, my name's Nat again. Welcome to my TED Talk.
Hi, my name is Inky. Welcome to my TED Talk.
I would
was
go to
talking
Inky's
about
TED Talk.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
I
really
would.
funny that you like can't even see him because he's just a void boy.
Yep, he's just a void.
He's the absence of whatever's.
He's giving kisses. You can see the little
Aw.
tongue.
Yee.
What is it?
Also, if anyone in the voice chat has something they want to,
Oh yeah, Queer
Yep.
Note joined us at some point.
But it's also okay if you don't have anything to contribute.
yeah,
at this
you
point.
don't
Like,
actually have to say anything.
we're not depending on you for the content.
Should have as applies to a lot of games for me as well. Yeah.
I have really
Yep.
thoroughly enjoyed this conversation that we're having. And I do see myself interested in running another one of these, either with the same set of panelists or bringing some new people in. But again, I have been joking about like, oh good, we got 6 months worth of content, guys, because I don't know if I'm gonna want to do this after 2 months.
I'm not joking about this post-it note that
yes.
Have you really wrote down every time you were like, yeah, we can make another thing out of this?
at least 3 times. Yes.
Okay, I have to. I agree with something that the Queer Note has put in Discord.
Okay, I can't actually tab over without messing up my overlay.
I got it.
All right.
I feel a lot of pressure at times to 100% everything and don't allow myself to move on to the next game without doing that. It's so limited times because I would love to play more games, but I don't allow myself. What a mood. Like, especially
Yeah.
this is probably something I like about playing on I try to get games for my Switch versus like Steam or something like that. Darn
achievement
achievements.
things.
Achievement hunting.
Achievement. You feel like you have to do
And it's
things.
definitely
and it's-
disappointing if you finish it with and you miss some.
yeah.
Like, there's that like
After you
lingering
do all
like,
that work,
oh, how did I miss that? Like,
Like, I found out, so my favorite series is Dragon Age. Like, I could do a whole panel on Dragon Age. Not saying that to write it down. But I mean, if you want to.
just
I
be
mean,
out of grandpa talking about Dragon Age.
just
That is
Dragon
the TED
Age.
Talk.
Just Dragon Age. Yeah, that would be my TED Talk. Welcome to Dragon Age. Oh my gosh. And I found out that the third game I played, like, I have 100% of that game, and I was miserable doing that. Prior, my first run through, I found out I didn't even visit one whole map. I missed a whole map, or 1.5 maps. I didn't even do, like, I had a blast playing that game. And then I decided I had to 100% it. And I was miserable.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
to saying that it's bad. I did 100% Inquisition.
You got some feelings about that in chat, I see.
You 100% Inquisition, Christ, why? I have 100%ed all 3 Dragon Age games. Yeah, the Hinterlands alone. I can't say that I will ever 100% them again, and I love that game, the game series with all its faults. But man, do achievements make you want to like have to get all that pressure and do stuff? And it's like, no, I have played the game, I have enjoyed it. I should be able to move on. But like, it's totally valid to feel like you have to 100% everything.
I
Like,
will say one
especially
thing.
go ahead.
One thing I don't like about Steam is that like sometimes they'll hide the achievements from you,
I hate
and it's just
that.
like,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and I'm like, the one thing I'm like, okay, there's people. I was thinking while you were talking, like, there's people that like 100% of Breath of the Wild, and they knew what they had to do because it was easy to find all the information. It's like you find all the Koroks, you do all the shrines, blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah, and it's like that's. When they like hide the achievements from you, that's even worse because you're like, oh well, I don't even know what I'm missing now, and it's like, how do you know how to keep playing and try to 100% it if you can't even see the achievements? Like,
So, two things. I'll touch on 2 things because we have one from the chat and one from Queer Note. So one is that I used to think in order to play from Cultural Garlic, I used to play a game right. I had to figure out everything myself. And now if I get stuck, I'm in Google like game puzzle guide. I just wanted to touch on that. There's no problem looking stuff up.
so true.
Really
I
not.
have done that midstream. I was playing, for those who were watching, when we got to the Gorons and Oracle of Ages, that thing is a puzzle and a nightmare, and it's the one like thing I don't like about the game going back and playing them. I had no problem going, you know what? I need to pause and look this up because I'm going to do that. And I had to do that for quite a bit of that game, and there is no shame in that. And then notes said that social media comes into the discussion a lot as well. For example, now with Tears of the Kingdom, I feel a lot of pressure to just keep going and finish it up already, as opposed to enjoying it on my own place because I fear somebody will spoil for me.
Yeah.
So
100%.
true.
Yeah.
I understand the drive, and I wish I could. It's easy for me to say, well, just play it at your own pace anyway. But like, everyone else is enjoying the content, and it feels like a race to avoid spoilers because so quickly the common courtesy of like maybe someone else didn't want to see that yet goes out the window. Like, I want to say,
Yep.
even after like the first week, some people are posting like major plot spoilers without tagging
From
them.
like towards the end of the game,
I
and I'm just
have-
like, I have not had that much time to play. Like,
I have really appreciated how we have handled it in Cool Gamer Retirement Home
mm-hmm.
because like I wasn't sure. I'm sharing my copy with someone else in the house. So like they're in a like at this point between the two of us, like we've spoiled stuff for each other, so like it unfortunately happens. But we've been very careful about making sure that we spoil tag everything, and so there'll be the first tag will be what the location is or the item or whatever, and then there's the body of it. And like for me that has been really helpful, is like I just decided whatever with the story. I'm just gonna go wander the wilds and do whatever. That has been really, even though there's that urge to want to click on all the spoilers, um, that has been
Yeah,
really
right.
helpful for me. Now, obviously, we can't do that with like Twitter and Instagram or whatever, and unfortunately, like people will just post whatever. So that is hard. Like it does feel like I feel like, oh, I should be somewhere else, but I'm like, yeah, you know what, whatever. Like I'm just gonna go. For me, like unfortunately with spoilers, like spoilers are happening, so like I don't really get a choice in that in some cases. Like there's things that you can do, um but also like for some people who are very big on social media, like you can't necessarily avoid social media all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I get the feeling of like wanting to speed through the game so that you'll know what everyone's talking about, and that's it's not a spoiler for you. Like, you can always say like, oh, play at your own pace, or just avoid the internet spoilers, but it's like
Yeah.
way easier said than done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
And if for some reason you don't know, you can mute stuff on Twitter. Not that that stops things from coming through.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
So kind of talking to Dennis's point about like feeling that urge to 100% a game.
Mm-hmm.
If you recall, when I started my Breath of the Wild playthrough, I was calling it a Korok playthrough.
Yep.
And I threw that out the window really quick. And you know
There's
what?
so many of them.
There's 900 of them.
There's 900.
It even
of
got
them.
to
What? There's 900.
There's
In Breath of the
900
Wild,
of them.
There's 900 Koroks.
It's
I
not
think
a joke.
I got 200. And like I was even using a map. I was going and marking where they should be and then trying to go find them in game. So I did entire streams of like, I'm gonna go in this area and get all of the Koroks because I mapped them out
Oh my
off stream
God.
and I can just go get them. And I just got to a point where I was like, I mean,
This is not
obviously
fun.
I can return to Breath of the Wild and I can just do a chill Korok hunting stream, but I'm just doing it for the sake of saying I did it at that point. I'm not really doing it because I'm passively enjoying it.
And the
I'm
game
not-
doesn't even encourage you to 100% it. It actually like bullies you if you do.
A little bit. Most people
Oh,
know what
geez.
happens if you get all 900 Koroks, but I will not say it. You can look it up.
I
and
don't
you can figure
remember
out.
it, so I'm not gonna
Yeah,
spoil
I'll have to
it.
look-
But
I'll
I
have to
remember
look that up.
hearing about it.
So yes, I can understand a drive, and I can also understand, oh, I said I was going to 100% it, so now I should. You don't have to. I give you permission to not do it. I give you permission to play the game in the way that you like, and in a way that you get the most enjoyment out of, and it doesn't have to be getting every single little thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's kind of like a flip side. I said when I was doing Banjo-Kazooie that I was going to attempt to 100% it. And I said that specifically because Dennis was watching my streams and they could tell me, yeah, maybe you missed the 4 notes in here, or like, yeah, there's another Jinjo over here. So like, I had a guide and I had some help being able to actually do it. But I still gave myself that grace to say, if we get to Rusty Bucket Bay and I cannot do this without dying 80 million times, 100% playthrough ends there, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You're allowed to change your mind.
You're allowed to change your mind. You need to give yourself grace.
And
Those
you know.
statements are also both true about hobbies and hustles.
Yep.
they sure are.
Yep.
And I think, like, that's the most important thing to me, is that I don't think there's anything wrong with having a hustle. I think if
No.
you're solely doing it because you want to feel productive, then I think that might be for the wrong reason if that's the only reason you're doing it.
Yeah.
But I still think you're allowed to have hobbies and you're allowed to have hustles, but in my opinion, you still need to have hobbies. That's the bottom line. Like, you need to have that thing that you can do and enjoy.
Agreed.
And even if you don't think you have a hobby, you probably have something that you're interested in that you enjoy.
Like video games are a hobby.
Video games are a hobby.
Video games are a hobby. Working out can be a hobby. Stuff like that.
Hanging out
Sorry,
with your
those
cat.
are the two that came to my mind for some reason. But
Kitty cuddles are a hobby.
Yes.
kitty cuddles are a hobby.
I have this stack of yarn.
Yep. I have loved that. I've been drawn to it this whole time.
I was gonna say it's very visually appealing over there.
It's very
Yeah.
pretty. I've been drawn to the spiritual stones.
Oh yes, that too.
Yep.
Everything.
Which again was another hobby that I picked up during the quarantine parts of the pandemic.
I did
Is I made
perler.
these little-
I still
Perler
have my set. I
was
wanna
gonna say I haven't done perler beads since like elementary school.
I think
See? Yeah.
I was spinning yarn before the pandemic, but it definitely took off during the pandemic.
I wish I could say I started doing. I mean, I started streaming kind of during the pandemic, I guess.
I did
that
too.
counts. Same. I did too, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Agent Blaze is typing.
Alrighty.
I was like, I'm glad I'm not one of those people that started bread making during the pandemic.
I didn't.
I-
I didn't
I have
start.
a sourdough starter, but it is not related to the pandemic. I'm
Okay.
just gonna say that it is a family. Like, that sourdough starter is over 60 years old.
Okay, that's valid.
So
Not saying that sourdough starters during the pandemic are invalid, but like
no,
it was like the meme that everyone was learning how to make bread during the
Yeah.
pandemic.
I made bread. I started gardening. I started collecting yarn. I I did it all.
I think I got
I
most
still
of
need
my
to go
houseplants
for my yard.
during the pandemic.
Really?
Yeah, like I had the one that was the parent plant that if you donated to 2022's charity events, you may have a plant.
Yep.
That was from that parent plant that I got back in Rochester from a coworker. But most of the other plants in my house I accumulated throughout the pandemic because we were spending so much time inside and we kind of wanted to say, well, let's purify the air and make it feel fresh again.
That's funny. Yeah, this has been great.
This has been really great. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna put a tight timer on doing another one because we've got Pridecraft next month, and to me that takes priority.
Yeah.
That is already existing. It takes precedence. It has seniority. Whatever you want to say. That's where I'm gonna be pouring my energy into. And
I think it's good to just do stuff when we feel, again, taking care of stuff, reading our bodies and all that. Do it when it works out.
guys, say hi to Lucavian. Hi, Lucavian.
Hi,
Hello,
Lucavian.
Hi, Uncle Burby.
Hi, Uncle Barber.
I think you came in kind of near the end, but in summary, chapter 1 from Island Grandpa, we learned about taking care of yourself and setting boundaries, and kind of additionally, after Agent Blaze gave his little input, we learned about making sure you're doing these things for you.
Yep.
Chapter 2, Patrium, we learned about finding a community that's going to nurture you in these hobbies and hustles that you're doing. Chapter 3 is to find hobbies that really fulfill you in your downtime. And chapter 4 is about making sure you're actively enjoying your leisure time and not just passively enjoying it so that you can heal.
Yep. And today's Saturday.
It is Saturday, Lucavian.
Blaze, we really enjoyed having you here, so thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Blaze.
And
We
thanks
really
for coming
appreciate
in
you
as well,
for that.
Dennis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed hearing everyone's thoughts on this, and I have one more thing I want to say, if I may.
Sure.
Certainly.
Um, I just want to circle back to something you had said, Redra, about wanting to, having that urge to like 100% everything.
Mm.
That can be applied in so many different scenarios, and if I'm allowed to go down the rabbit hole for a second, that is so true for me when it comes to, doing these little compositions and putting it in my YouTube or Instagram. There have been times where I have done like a short segment. I've recorded like 60 or 70 times over because there's always been a time where I bumped a note or I've been a little too fast in one section, and it's like at some point I'd stop and realize it's perfectly okay for it to not be 100%. I mean, you're your own worst critic, right?
Oh yes.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
the only in a lot of cases the only person that's gonna notice that mistake unless I actively mention it is me.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah,
Um,
that was a huge thing for me as well, is recognizing that it's okay to not be perfect, that the idea or this idea of perfection or this golden image of what you should be is just either not attainable or not a realistic goal to set for yourself. So that kind of ties into the whole, taking care of yourself, and because if you spend too much time making sure everything's perfect, you're gonna burn yourself out. Just to tie back into what Ellen Grandpa was talking about. So
Certainly. And then I think even that can tie into the whole expectations thing where yes, we don't want to do things because society expects it or because like a friend or a family expects it, but we also don't need to set such high and stark expectations of ourselves. It goes
Yep.
back to again extending that grace to yourself, giving
Yep.
yourself permission to say this doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. And you know what? It exists, and that's okay. That sometimes that's all it needs to do.
Yep.
Agree.
Side
And
note: what toys are people using to fidget with? I have my little loot
I just have my tablet that I've been writing
and
on.
I
my
have these little cube
fidget
blocks that
cube.
are magnetic, and there's 4 of them, and I've been
I
dipping
saw
that under
that
the
and I was like, I
table.
want those.
I
have
lifted
little
them
fidget
up by accident, and then I was like, "Oh god!"
It's okay. I have a little loot fidget thing, and then I have my like fidget cube.
I
Yeah.
have been picking at my nails because I am bad. Not like
That
Same.
that's
like
something.
nails, not skin. So I'm happy about that at
Yeah.
least.
That's fair. I have like several. I have this thing that just spins
Oh, that's
Ooh.
over, and you
pretty.
just like push it around. That's the other
Oh.
big one. Mostly, my sister gave me this recently, so this has been like in the front of my desk. I also keep dropping it.
My other thing I found out, so keyboard people will probably be upset with me, but you can get tester keys for keyboards, and I literally just got this to have a clicky clack thing, but they all have different pressures and sensitivities
Ah,
because
that's
it's for like
cool.
a mechanical keyboard. And I just bought it from the person. They had like 300 different options for switches and stuff, and I just wrote them. I said, "This is going to be a fidget toy. Have fun with whatever you want to put on it. I don't care."
Neat.
Sorry for that side note. Mental health.
Mental health.
It's very
Fidget
important.
toys.
It is
It's true.
important, and I feel like my takeaway from this, and I will be putting this VOD up on my YouTube if you
Yep.
are interested in revisiting what we talked about today. I think I have it here. So, that my takeaway is that I had a takeaway. Thank you, brain.
Da 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 da.
Like
That's
I
the
don't
takeaway.
I don't want to revisit all the 4 chapters.
No,
Because
no.
we just did that. And I had something and I swear I'm going to find it. But I think
Listening to ourselves.
Take care of
Grace.
ourselves, set boundaries.
Grace.
I mean it is all
Actively
about
enjoy
that.
your hobbies.
It is all about that grace.
Yeah.
Um
Great.
But yeah, hobbies and side hustles are both valid ways to spend your time, but I do think that you need to set aside with intention that side for a hobby, that time to say, I'm doing this for me, I'm doing this to restore myself. And
Yep.
check in with your thoughts, check in with your body, and bring all of this that we've talked about today inside. Like, internalize it. Say it enough times that you mean it, because you can keep saying it, but until you mean it, you're gonna keep having those, like, that siren call of, like, you should be doing
Yep.
something else, you should be
Yep.
being productive. So internalize it, make it your shield. That's all I had for today. I wasn't planning on raiding out because I kind of like this being its own self-contained thing that we can close out and go about our day.
Yeah.
Thank
Do
you
you
again for
want-
the raid earlier, Nat.
Yeah.
You want us each to kind of say where we're from, or I don't know, like where to find people?
Sure. I did shout outs for everyone as they
Okay.
started their section, but we can do a little, like, closing greeting, for lack of a better word. Closing.
A closing greeting.
Closing
I mainly
greeting.
wanted to because someone had a book come out.
That's true.
What was
And,
that?
So
and
crazy.
someone
Like,
has a
amazing.
Ko-Fi shop with some prints
And-
that we've
Yeah.
raffled off.
So someone had a book. Someone's got some merch. I'm not sure about
Someone's
you,
got
Nat,
stickers, I
but
think.
like
I think I heard something about stickers.
Some
yeah,
pins.
stickers.
I do have
Pins.
pins. I have a whole
So-
bag of beautiful
Oh, I guess
Because
I
you know we all are talking
Well,
about content creators,
side hustles.
side hustles.
We wear lots of hats as content creators.
You do,
You do.
and I think. Oh yes, I will make the crop top live because everyone wants a milked up crop top for some reason that I don't
Oh,
understand.
God.
I mean, I
I'm gonna buy
understand it,
this
but I don't
so fast.
understand it.
Yeah.
Why not? That sounds amazing.
All right, it's live. It's public. Knock yourselves out.
Great.
That's funny.
Uh-oh.
It's back.
Okay, we're back.
I think it's because I pulled up a tab.
You tabbed away.
Oh.
I've been
yeah, I
good to
forgot
not
it
do that
does
until
that.
now.
So, Island Grandpa, do you want to get us started on our exit greetings?
Yeah, as someone who doesn't have anything to
Oh, they're in the order we talked.
What
That's
is
not
do, buckaroos? I'm Island Grandpa. Going to be coming back to streaming probably next Saturday. I'm gonna just do a chill hangout thing. Might play some Final Fantasy. Might play some other game. Might just not. If I could figure out how to like hook up a camera to properly do my spin rig for spinning yarn, I would. But just gonna do just a gentle reintroduction into streaming. So you can find me at Island Grandpa on Twitch. And technically I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Island Grandpa. And if you want to submit normally I do like a mail hour, not hour, a mail time for like people to ask questions. They've normally been really weird questions, which was not the planned intention, but hey, you all do you. If you want to send a question to be read on stream, you can send that to askislandgrandpa@gmail.com. You can ask me weird questions like, is time a soup? Or something like that. I will not take arguments about gazpacho. And or if you want to ask like an actual question about life or whatever, whatever you want to send. I'm just here to chill and have good vibes. But that's all I got.
Catrium.
Catrium.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
You have a link to
Catrium.
your book.
I have a book.
I sure have that book.
Yeah. So, as I said, I am a writer. I write under the pen name Ellen Thorne. My book is called Blood Maid. It is on Amazon. The ebooks are only $5. So get it. It is a labor of love. This was my thesis in graduate school, and
Oh, that's
Did
so
that.
cool. I didn't know that.
yeah, Yeah, it's 80,000 words of just a friend saving her friend and doing some other stuff also involving blood because it's a blood
Makes sense.
In the title.
and I do stream sometimes at Catrium, twitch.tv/Catrium. I also do a podcast. It's called Literally 2 Cents About Content. Because back at my $30,000 a year in Chicago job, we made 2 cents per word that we wrote.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that's why the podcast is called that. I do it with one of my former coworkers, and it's basically just a kind of a takedown of the content marketing industry and capitalism as a whole. So
Very on brand for the retirement home.
extremely on brand. Yeah, so that's that.
Nat?
Hi, Nat again here. Hello. The most awkward Zuko entrance ever. I also stream most of the time, like 3 days a week ish. Although I've been only playing Planet Zoo. And you can find me on Twitter at Nat Again. And technically my Instagram is also Nat Again, but it's mostly personal Instagram where I post a lot about my boyfriend. And I also have a Kobe shop, I think that was shared. Yeah, hi, Nat Again here. That was shared a little bit ago. I have prints on there still and some digital coloring pages that are always available at any time. And I think that's it.
And then I have been your host, Super Redria64. I'm a Twitch streamer. I really wear way too many hats, but right now the hats that I wear are Twitch streaming, and then merchandise comes along with that, so I get to practice my art and do a lot of fun little things. You can follow my YouTube channel. We are very close to 69 subscribers, which is a very funny number, and I would love to hit that number. Knock knock. Who's there?
I have to make sure I'm following. I'm pretty sure I am, but I have to make sure now.
Yeah, with that, I think we're going to wrap up and just kind of chill and go about our day. I think Fudge and I are gonna go get some groceries and maybe start on some meal prep stuff. And then after that, I'm really hoping to dive on into a hobby. I've got some trading cards that I want to do. Not have to, want to do. And then Tears of the Kingdom is going to be there lurking always, ready to open me or welcome me with open arms and say, come back to me.
Both are good.
Both are good. Thank you guys again for joining me today. Thanks to all of chat. Thanks, Nat, for the raid. And we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye, Blaze.
Bye, Blaze.
Bye.